I'm Thomas, your host. Thanks for joining me. We're going to listen to a great one tonight. The Forgotten Books of Eden, Part 2. So dim the lights and let the words carry you away. And if you feel so inclined, give the video a like and subscribe for more content. The story of the Forgotten Books of Eden does not end at the gate of Eden. In the second volume, the children of Adam carry the burden of the fall down into history. We follow Cain into exile and watch the sons of Seth keep themselves apart on the holy mountain until they too are lured down into the world below. Then comes one of the strangest books ever set down, the book of the Secrets of Enoch. Enoch, who walked with God, is carried up by two shining angels through 10 heavens, shown the storehouses of the snow and the dew, the treasuries of the stars, the angels who rule them, and the fate of the righteous and the wicked. Sent back to earth for 30 days, he writes it all down in 366 books before he's taken up forever. And we close with the Psalms of Solomon, the songs of people crying out for a righteous king. Listen now and follow the line of Adam beyond the garden. The Forgotten Books of Eden, Part 2, translated by Rutherford H. Platt, published 1927.
But as for Adam and Eve, they came not together after Abel's funeral for 7 years. After this, however, Eve conceived, and while she was with child, Adam said to her, "Come, let us take an offering and offer it up unto God, and ask him to give us a fair child, in whom we may find comfort, and whom we may join in marriage to Abel's sister." Then they prepared an offering and brought it up to the altar, and offered it before the Lord, and began to entreat him to accept their offering, and to give them a good offspring. And God heard Adam and accepted his offering. Then they worshipped Adam, Eve, and their daughter, and came down to the cave of treasures, and placed a lamp in it, to burn by night and by day before the body of Abel. Then Adam and Eve continued fasting and praying until Eve's time came that she should be delivered, when she said to Adam, "I wish to go to the cave in the rock, to bring forth in it." And he said, "Go and take with thee thy daughter to wait on thee, but will remain in this cave of treasures before." Then Eve hearkened to Adam, and went, she and her daughter. But Adam remained by himself in the cave of treasures. And Eve brought forth a son, perfectly beautiful in figure and in countenance. His beauty was like that of his father Adam, yet more beautiful. Then Eve was comforted when she saw him, and remained 8 days in the cave. Then she sent her daughter unto Adam to tell him to come and see the child and name him. But the daughter stayed in his place by the body of her brother until Adam returned. So did she. But when Adam came and saw the child's good looks, his beauty, and his perfect figure, he rejoiced over him, and was comforted for Abel. Then he named the child Seth. That means that God has heard my prayer, and has delivered me out of my affliction. But it means also power and strength. Then after Adam had named the child, he returned to the cave of treasures, and his daughter went back to her mother. But Eve continued in her cave until 40 days were fulfilled, when she came to Adam, and brought with her the child and her daughter. And they came to a river of water, where Adam and his daughter washed themselves because of their sorrow for Abel. But Eve and the babe washed for purification. Then they returned, and took an offering, and went to the mountain and offered it up for the babe. And God accepted their offering, and sent his blessing upon them, and upon their son Seth. And they came back to the cave of treasures. As for Adam, he knew not again his wife Eve all the days of his life. Neither was any more offspring born of them, but only those 5, Cain, Luluwa, Abel, Achlea, and Seth alone. But Seth waxed in stature and in strength, and began to fast and pray fervently. Satan appears as a beautiful woman tempting Adam, telling him he is still a youth. Spend thy youth in mirth and pleasure. 12. The different forms which Satan takes. 15. As for our father Adam, at the end of 7 years from the day he had been severed from his wife Eve, Satan envied him when he saw him thus separated from her, and strove to make him live with her again. Then Adam arose and went up above the cave of treasures, and continued to sleep there night by night. But as soon as it was light every day he came down to the cave to pray there and to receive a blessing from it. But when it was evening he went up on the roof of the cave, where he slept by himself, fearing lest Satan should overcome him. And he continued thus apart 39 days. Then Satan, the hater of all good, when he saw Adam thus alone, fasting and praying, appeared unto him in the form of a beautiful woman, who came and stood before him in the night of the 40th day, and said unto him, O Adam, from the time ye have dwelt in this cave, we have experienced great peace from you, and your prayers have reached us, and we have been comforted about you. But now, O Adam, that thou hast gone up over the roof of the cave to sleep, we have had doubts about thee, and a great sorrow has come upon us because of thy separation from Eve. Then again, when thou art on the roof of this cave, thy prayer is poured out, and thy heart wanders from side to side. But when thou wast in the cave, thy prayer was like fire gathered together. It came down to us, and thou didst find rest. Then also grieved over thy children who are severed from thee, and my sorrow is great about the murder of thy son Abel, for he was righteous, and over a righteous man every one will grieve. But rejoiced over the birth of thy son Seth, yet after a little while sorrowed greatly over Eve, because she is my sister. For when God sent a deep sleep over thee, and drew her out of thy side, he brought me out also with her. But he raised her by placing her with thee, while he lowered me. I rejoiced over my sister for her being with thee, but God had made me a promise before, and said, Grieve not. When Adam has gone up on the roof of the cave of treasures, and is separated from Eve his wife, will send thee to him. Thou shalt join thyself to him in marriage, and bear him 5 children, as Eve did bear him 5. And now, lo, God's promise to me is fulfilled, for it is he who has sent me to thee for the wedding. Because if thou wed me, shall bear thee finer and better children than those of Eve. Then again, thou art as yet but a youth. End not thy youth in this world in sorrow, but spend the days of thy youth in mirth and pleasure. For thy days are few, and thy trial is great. Be strong, end thy days in this world in rejoicing. Shall take pleasure in thee, and thou shalt rejoice with me in this wise, and without fear. Up then, and fulfill the command of thy God. She then drew near to Adam, and embraced him. But when Adam saw that he should be overcome by her, he prayed to God with a fervent heart to deliver him from her. Then God sent his word unto Adam, saying, O Adam, that figure is the one that promised thee the Godhead and majesty. He is not favorably disposed towards thee, but shows himself to thee at one time in the form of a woman, another moment in the likeness of an angel, on another occasions in the similitude of a serpent, and at another time in the semblance of a god. But he does all that only to destroy thy soul. Now therefore, O Adam, understanding thy heart, have delivered thee many a time from his hands, in order to show thee that am a merciful God, and that wish thy good, and that do not wish thy ruin. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92scripturetext.com. Adam sees the devil in his true colors. Then God ordered Satan to show himself to Adam plainly in his own hideous form. But when Adam saw him, he feared and trembled at the sight of him. And God said to Adam, Look at this devil and at his hideous look, and know that he it is who made thee fall from brightness into darkness, from peace and rest to toil and misery. And look, O Adam, at him who said of himself that he is God. Can God be black? Would God take the form of a woman? Is there any one stronger than God? And can he be overpowered? See then, O Adam, and behold him bound in thy presence, in the air, unable to flee away. Therefore say unto thee, Be not afraid of him, Henceforth take care, and beware of him in whatever he may do to thee. Then God drove Satan away from before Adam, whom he strengthened, and whose heart he comforted, saying to him, Go down to the cave of treasures, and separate not thyself from Eve. Will quell in you all animal lust. From that hour it left Adam and Eve, and they enjoyed rest by the commandment of God. But God did not the like to any one of Adam's seed, but only to Adam and Eve. Then Adam worshipped before the Lord, for having delivered him, and for having laid his passions. And he came down from above the cave and dwelt with Eve as aforetime. This ended the 40 days of his separation from Eve. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 90sectedtexts.com. CHAAPV. The devil paints a brilliant picture for Seth to feast his thoughts upon. As for Seth, when he was 7 years old, he knew good and evil, and was consistent in fasting and praying, and spent all his nights in entreating God for mercy and forgiveness. He also fasted when bringing up his offering every day more than his father did, for he was of a fair countenance, like unto an angel of God. He also had a good heart, preserved the finest qualities of his soul, and for this reason he brought up his offering every day. And God was pleased with his offering, but he was also pleased with his purity, and he continued thus in doing the will of God and of his father and mother until he was 7 years old. After that, as he was coming down from the altar, having ended his offering, Satan appeared unto him in the form of a beautiful angel, brilliant with light, with a staff of light in his hand, himself girt about with a girdle of light. He greeted Seth with a beautiful smile, and began to beguile him with fair words, saying to him, O Seth, why abidest thou in this mountain? For it is rough, full of stones and of sand, and of trees with no good fruit on them, a wilderness without habitations and without towns, no good place to dwell in, but all is heat, weariness, and trouble. He said further, But we dwell in beautiful places, in another world than this earth. Our world is one of light, and our condition is of the best. Our women are handsomer than any others, and wish thee, O Seth, to wed one of them, because see that thou art fair to look upon, and in this land there is not one woman good enough for thee. Besides, all those who live in this world are only 5 souls. But in our world there are very many men and many maidens, all more beautiful one than another. Wish therefore to remove thee hence, that thou mayest see my relations, and be wedded to whichever thou likest. Thou shalt then abide by me, and be at peace. Thou shalt be filled with splendor and light as we are. Thou shalt remain in our world, and rest from this world and the misery of it. Thou shalt never again feel faint and weary. Thou shalt never bring up an offering, nor sue for mercy, for thou shalt commit no more sin, nor be swayed by passions. And if thou wilt hearken to what say, thou shalt wed one of my daughters, for with us it is no sin so to do, neither is it reckoned animal lust. For in our world we have no God, but we all are gods. We all are of the light, heavenly, powerful, strong, and glorious. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 90sectedtexts.com. Chap 6. Seth's conscience helps him. He returns to Adam and Eve. When Seth heard these words, he was amazed, and inclined his heart to Satan's treacherous speech, and said to him, Saidst thou, there is another world created than this, and other creatures more beautiful than the creatures that are in this world? And Satan said, Yes, behold, thou hast heard me, but will yet praise them and their ways in thy hearing. But Seth said to him, Thy speech has amazed me, and thy beautiful description of it all. Yet cannot go with thee today, not until have gone to my father Adam and to my mother Eve, and told them all thou hast said to me. Then if they give me leave to go with thee, will come. Again Seth said, I'm afraid of doing anything without my father's and mother's leave, lest perish like my brother Cain, and like my father Adam, who transgressed the commandment of God. But behold, thou knowest this place. Come and meet me here tomorrow. When Satan heard this, he said to Seth, If thou tellest thy father Adam what have told thee, he will not let thee come with me. But hearken to me, do not tell thy father and mother what have said to thee, but come with me today to our world, where thou shalt see beautiful things and enjoy thyself there, and revel this day among my children, beholding them and taking thy fill of mirth, and rejoice evermore. Then shall bring thee back to this place tomorrow. But if thou wouldest rather abide with me, so be it. Then Seth answered, The spirit of my father and of my mother hangs on me, and if hide from them one day they will die, and God will hold me guilty of sinning against them. And except that they know I'm come to this place to bring up to it my offering, they would not be separated from me 1 hour, neither should go to any other place unless they let me. But they treat me most kindly, because come back to them quickly. Then Satan said to him, What will happen to thee if thou hide thyself from them one night, and return to them at break of day? But Seth, when he saw how he kept on talking, and that he would not leave him, ran, and went up to the altar, and spread his hands unto God, and sought deliverance from him. Then God sent his word, and cursed Satan, who fled from him. But as for Seth, he had gone up to the altar, saying thus in his heart, The altar is the place of offering, and God is there. A divine fire shall consume it, so shall Satan be unable to hurt me, and shall not take me away thence. Then Seth came down from the altar, and went to his father and mother, where he found in the way, longing to hear his voice, for he had tarried a while. He then began to tell them what had befallen him from Satan, under the form of an angel. But when Adam heard his account, he kissed his face, and warned him against that angel, telling him it was Satan who thus appeared to him. Then Adam took Seth, and they went to the cave of treasures, and rejoiced therein. But from that day forth Adam and Eve never parted from him, to whatever place he might go, whether for his offering or for anything else. This sign happened to Seth when he was 9 years old. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1926, Seth marries Aklia. Adam lives to see grandchildren and great-grandchildren. When our father Adam saw that Seth was of a perfect heart, he wished him to marry, lest the enemy should appear to him another time and overcome him. So Adam said to his son Seth, I wish, O my son, that thou wed thy sister Aklia, Abel's sister, that she may bear thee children, who shall replenish the earth according to God's promise to us. Be not afraid, O my son, there is no disgrace in it. Wish thee to marry, from fear lest the enemy overcome thee. Seth, however, did not wish to marry, but in obedience to his father and mother he said not a word. So Adam married him to Aklia, and he was 15 years old. But when he was 20 years of age, he begat a son, whom he called Enos, and then begat other children than him. Then Enos grew up, married, and begat Cainan. Cainan also grew up, married, and begat Mahalaleel. Those fathers were born during Adam's lifetime, and dwelt by the cave of treasures. Then were the days of Adam 930 years, and those of Mahalaleel 100. But Mahalaleel, when he was grown up, loved fasting, praying, and with hard labors, until the end of our father Adam's days drew near. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 19206text.com. Adam's remarkable last words. He predicts the flood. He exhorts his offspring to good. He reveals certain mysteries of life. When our father Adam saw that his end was near, he called his son Seth, who came to him in the cave of treasures, and he said unto him, O Seth, my son, bring me thy children and thy children's children, that may shed my blessing on them ere die. When Seth heard these words from his father Adam, he went from him, shed a flood of tears over his face, and gathered together his children and his children's children, and brought them to his father Adam. But when our father Adam saw them around him, he wept at having to be separated from them. And when they saw him weeping, they all wept together, and fell upon his face, saying, How shalt thou be severed from us, O our father? And how shall the earth receive thee, and hide thee from our eyes? Thus did lament much, and in like words. Then our father Adam blessed them all, and said to Seth after he had blessed them, O Seth, my son, thou knowest this world, that it is full of sorrow and of weariness, and thou knowest all that has come upon us from our trials in it. Therefore now command thee in these words, to keep innocency, to be pure and just, and trusting in God, and lean not to the discourses of Satan, nor to the apparitions in which he will show himself to thee. But keep the commandments that give thee this day. Then give the same to thy son Enos, and let Enos give it to his son Cainan, and Cainan to his son Mahalaleel, so that this commandment abide firm among all your children. O Seth, my son, the moment am dead, take ye my body, and wind it up with myrrh, aloes, and cassia, and leave me here in this cave of treasures, in which are all these tokens which God gave us from the garden. O my son, hereafter shall a flood come, and all creatures, and leave out only 8 souls. But, O my son, let those whom it will leave out from among your children at that time take my body with them out of this cave, and when they have taken it with them, let the oldest among them command his children to lay my body in a ship until the flood has been assuaged, and they come out of the ship. Then they shall take my body and lay it in the middle of the earth, shortly after they have been saved from the waters of the flood. For the place where my body shall be laid is the middle of the earth. God shall come from thence, and shall save all our kindred. But now, O Seth, my son, place thyself at the head of thy people. Tend them and watch over them in the fear of God, and lead them in the good way, command them to fast unto God, and make them understand they ought not to hearken to Satan, lest he destroy them. Then again sever thy children and thy children's children from Cain's children. Do not let them ever mix with those, nor come near them either in their words or in their deeds. Then Adam let his blessing descend upon Seth, and upon his children, and upon all his children's children. He then turned to his son Seth, and to Eve his wife, and said to them, Preserve this gold, this incense, and this myrrh, that God has given us for a sign. For in days that are coming, a flood will overwhelm the whole creation. But those who shall go into the ark shall take with them the gold, the incense, and the myrrh, together with my body, and will lay the gold, the incense, and the myrrh with my body in the midst of the earth. Then, after a long time, the city in which the gold, the incense, and the myrrh are found with my body shall be plundered. But when it is spoiled, the gold, the incense, and the myrrh shall be taken care of with the spoil that is kept, and naught of them shall perish, until the word of God made man shall come, when kings shall take them, and shall offer to him gold in token of his being king, incense in token of his being God of heaven and earth, and myrrh in token of his passion, cold also as a token of his overcoming Satan and all our foes, incense as a token that he will rise from the dead and be exalted above things in heaven and things in the earth, and myrrh in token that he will drink bitter gall and feel the pains of hell from Satan. And now, O Seth, my son, behold, have revealed unto thee hidden mysteries which God had revealed unto me. Keep my commandment for thyself and for thy people. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 90s Church Dutch, DH knows. When Adam had ended his commandment to Seth, his limbs were loosened, his hands and feet lost all power, his mouth became dumb, and his tongue ceased altogether to speak. He closed his eyes and gave up the ghost. But when his children saw that he was dead, they threw themselves over him, men and women, old and young, weeping. The death of Adam took place at the end of 930 years that be lived upon the earth, on the 15th day of Barmudi, after the reckoning of an epact of the sun, at the 9th hour. It was on a Friday, the very day on which he was created, and on which he rested, and the hour at which he died was the same as that at which he came out of the garden. Then Seth wound him up well, and embalmed him with plenty of sweet spices, from sacred trees and from the holy mountain, and belayed his body on the eastern side of the inside of the cave, the side of the incense, and placed in front of him a lampstand kept burning. Then his children stood before him, weeping and wailing over him the whole night until break of day. Then Seth and big son Enos and Cainan, the son of Enos, went out and took good offerings to present unto the Lord. And they came to the altar upon which Adam offered gifts to God when he did offer. But Eve said to them, Wait until we have first asked God to accept our offering, and to keep by him the soul of Adam his servant, and to take it up to rest. And they all stood up and prayed. The Forgotten Books of Eden, by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., at sacredtext.com. And when they had ended their prayer, the word of God came and comforted them concerning their father Adam. After this, they offered their gifts for themselves and for their father. And when they had ended their offering, the word of God came to Seth, the eldest among them, saying unto him, O Seth, 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 3 times. As was with thy father, so also shall be with thee, until the fulfillment of the promise made him thy father, saying, Will send my word and save thee and thy seed. But as to thy father Adam, keep thou the commandment he gave thee, and sever thy seed from that of Cain thy brother. And God withdrew his word from Seth. Then Seth, Eve, and their children came down from the mountain to the cave of treasures. But Adam was the first whose soul died in the land of Eden, in the cave of treasures, for no one died before him but his son Abel, who died murdered. Then all the children of Adam rose up, and wept over their father Adam, and made offerings to him 140 days. The Forgotten Books of Eden, by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1900 sacredtext.com. Chap. Seth becomes head of the most happy and just tribe of people who ever lived. After the death of Adam and of Eve, Seth severed his children and his children's children from Cain's children. Cain and his seed went down and dwelt westward, below the place where he had killed his brother Abel. But Seth and his children dwelt northwards upon the mountain of the cave of treasures, in order to be near to their father Adam. And Seth the elder, tall and good, with a fine soul, and of a strong mind, stood at the head of his people, and tended them in innocence, penitence, and meekness, and did not allow one of them to go down to Cain's children. But because of their own purity they were named children of God, and they were with God instead of the hosts of angels who fell. For they continued in praises to God, and in singing psalms unto him, in their cave, the cave of treasures. Then Seth stood before the body of his father Adam, and of his mother Eve, and prayed night and day, and asked for mercy towards himself and his children, and that when he had some difficult dealing with a child, he would give him counsel. But Seth and his children did not like earthly work, but gave themselves to heavenly things, for they had no other thought than praises, doxologies, and psalms unto God. Therefore did they at all times hear the voices of angels, praising and glorifying God, from within the garden, or when they were sent by God on an errand, or when they were going up to heaven. For Seth and his children, by reason of their own purity, heard and saw those angels. Then, again, the garden was not far above them, but only some 15 spiritual cubits. Now 1 spiritual cubit answers to 3 cubits of man, altogether 45 cubits. Seth and his children dwelt on the mountain below the garden. They sowed not, neither did they reap. They wrought no food for the body, not even wheat, but only offerings. They ate of the fruit and of trees well flavored that grew on the mountain where they dwelt. Then Seth often fasted every 40 days, as did also his eldest children. For the family of Seth smelled the smell of the trees in the garden when the wind blew that way. They were happy, innocent, without sudden fear. There was no jealousy, no evil action, no hatred among them. There was no animal passion. From no mouth among them went forth either foul words or curse, neither evil counsel nor fraud. For the men of that time never swore, but under hard circumstances, when men must swear, they swore by the blood of Abel the just. But they constrained their children and their women every day in the cave to fast and pray, and to worship the Most High God. They blessed themselves and the body of their father Adam, and anointed themselves with it. And they did so until the end of Seth drew near. The Forgotten Books of Eden, by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1963texts.com. Seth's family affairs, his death, the headship of Enos, how the outcast branch of Adam's family fared. Then Seth the just called his son Enos, and Cainan son of Enos, and Mahalaleel son of Cainan, and said unto them, As my end is near, wish to build a roof over the altar on which gifts are offered. They hearkened to his commandment, and went out, all of them, both old and young, and worked hard at it, and built a beautiful roof over the altar. And Seth's thought in so doing was that a blessing should come upon his children on the mountain, and that he should present an offering for them before his death. Then, when the building of the roof was completed, he commanded them to make offerings. They worked diligently at these, and brought them to Seth their father, who took them and offered them upon the altar, and prayed God to accept their offerings, to have mercy on the souls of his children, and to keep them from the hand of Satan. And God accepted his offering, and sent his blessing upon him and upon his children. And then God made a promise to Seth, saying, At the end of the great 5 days and a half, concerning which have made a promise to thee and to thy father, will send my word and save thee and thy seed. Then Seth and his children and his children's children met together, and came down from the altar, and went to the cave of treasures, where they prayed and blessed themselves in the body of our father Adam, and anointed themselves with it. But Seth abode in the cave of treasures a few days, and then suffered sufferings unto death. Then Enos his firstborn son came to him, with Cainan his son, and Mahalaleel Cainan's son, and Jared the son of Mahalaleel, and Enoch Jared's son, with their wives and children, to receive a blessing from Seth. Then Seth prayed over them, and blessed them, and adjured them by the blood of Abel the just, saying, Beg of you, my children, not to let one of you go down from this holy and pure mountain. Make no fellowship with the children of Cain the murderer and the sinner, who killed his brother. For ye know, O my children, that we flee from him, and from all his sin with all our might, because he killed his brother Abel. After having said this, Seth blessed Enos, his firstborn son, and commanded him habitually to minister in purity before the body of our father Adam all the days of his life, then also to go at times to the altar which he Seth had built. And he commanded him to feed his people in righteousness, in judgment and purity all the days of his life. Then the limbs of Seth were loosened, his hands and feet lost all power, his mouth became dumb and unable to speak, and he gave up the ghost and died the day after his 912th year, on the 27th day of the month Abib, Enoch being then 20 years old. Then they wound up the body of Seth, and embalmed him with sweet spices, and laid him in the cave of treasures, on the right side of our father Adam's body, and they mourned for him 40 days. They offered gifts for him as they had done for our father Adam. After the death of Seth, Enos rose at the head of his people, whom he fed in righteousness and judgment as his father had commanded him. But by the time Enos was 820 years old, Cain had a large progeny, for they married frequently, being given to animal lusts, until the land below the mountain was filled with them. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1933text.com. Chap. 13. Among the children of Cain there was much robbery, murder, and sin. In those days lived Lamech the blind, who was of the sons of Cain. He had a son whose name was Atun, and they too had much cattle. But Lamech was in the habit of sending them to feed with a young shepherd who tended them, and who, when coming home in the evening, wept before his grandfather, and before his father Atun and his mother Hazina, and said to them, As for me, cannot feed those cattle alone, lest one rob me of some of them, or kill me for the sake of them. For among the children of Cain there was much robbery, murder, and sin. Then Lamech pitied him, and he said, Truly, he, when alone, might be overpowered by the men of this place. So Lamech arose, took a bow he had kept ever since he was a youth, ere he became blind, and he took large arrows and smooth stones, and a sling which he had, and went to the field with the young shepherd, and placed himself behind the cattle, while the young shepherd watched the cattle. Thus did Lamech many days. Meanwhile Cain, ever since God had cast him off, and had cursed him with trembling and terror, could neither settle nor find rest in any one place, but wandered from place to place. In his wanderings he came to Lamech's wives, and asked them about him. They said to him, "He is in the field with the cattle." Then Cain went to look for him, and as he came into the field, the young shepherd heard the noise he made, and the cattle herding together from before him. Then said he to Lamech, "O my lord, is that a wild beast or a robber?" And Lamech said to him, "Make me understand which way he looks when he comes up." Then Lamech bent his bow, placed an arrow on it, and fitted a stone in the sling. And when Cain came out from the open country, the shepherd said to Lamech, "Shoot, behold, he is coming." Then Lamech shot at Cain with his arrow, and hit him in his side. And Lamech struck him with a stone from his sling, that fell upon his face and knocked out both his eyes. Then Cain fell at once and died. Then Lamech and the young shepherd came up to him, and found him lying on the ground. And the young shepherd said to him, "It is Cain our grandfather, whom thou hast killed, O my lord." Then was Lamech sorry for it, and from the bitterness of his regret he clapped his hands together, and struck with his flat palm the head of the youth, who fell as if dead. But Lamech thought it was a feint. So he took up a stone and smote him, and smashed his head until he died. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1926, at sacredtext.com. Chap 14. Time, like an ever-rolling stream, bears away another generation of men. When Enos was 900 years old, all the children of Seth and of Cainan and his firstborn, with their wives and children, gathered around him, asking for a blessing from him. He then prayed over them and blessed them, and adjured them by the blood of Abel the just, saying to them, "Let not one of your children go down from this holy mountain, and let them make no fellowship with the children of Cain the murderer." Click to enlarge F6 simile of actual page of original Gutenberg Bible. The first successful printing was done in 1450 AD, when Gutenberg printed the Old Testament in Latin. There are about 45 copies of the precious Gutenberg Bible in existence that have survived the chances of Europe and its wars for 500 years. Click to enlarge the first sunrise. Then Enos called his son Cainan and said to him, "See, O my son, and set thy heart on thy people, and establish them in righteousness and in innocence, and stand ministering before the body of our father Adam all the days of thy life." After this, Enos entered into rest, aged 985 years, and Cainan wound him up, and laid him in the cave of treasures on the left of his father Adam, and made offerings for him, after the custom of his fathers. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1926text.com. Cheapt, the offspring of Adam, continue to keep the cave of treasures as a family shrine. After the death of Enos, Cainan stood at the head of his people in righteousness and innocence, as his father had commanded him. He also continued to minister before the body of Adam inside the cave of treasures. Then when he had lived 910 years, suffering and affliction came upon him. And when he was about to enter into rest, all the fathers with their wives and children came to him, and he blessed them and adjured them by the blood of Abel the just, saying to them, "Let not one among you go down from this holy mountain, and make no fellowship with the children of Cain the murderer." Mahalaleel, his firstborn son, received this commandment from his father, who blessed him and died. Then Mahalaleel embalmed him with sweet spices, and laid him in the cave of treasures with his fathers, and they made offerings for him, after the custom of their fathers. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1926, deferredtext.com. Chap 16. The good branch of the family is still afraid of the children of Cain. Then Mahalaleel stood over his people, and fed them in righteousness and innocence, and watched them to see they held no intercourse with the children of Cain. He also continued in the cave of treasures, praying and ministering before the body of our father Adam, asking God for mercy on himself and on his people, until he was 870 years old, when he fell sick. Then all his children gathered unto him to see him and to ask for his blessing on them all, ere he left this world. Then Mahalaleel arose and sat on his bed, his tears streaming down his face, and he called his eldest son Jared, who came to him. He then kissed his face, and said to him, O Jared, my son, adjure thee by him who made heaven and earth, to watch over thy people, and to feed them in righteousness and in innocence, and not to let one of them go down from this holy mountain to the children of Cain, lest he perish with them. Hear, O my son, hereafter there shall come a great destruction upon this earth on account of them. God will be angry with the world, and will destroy them with waters. But also know that thy children will not hearken to thee, and that they will go down from this mountain, and hold intercourse with the children of Cain, and that they shall perish with them. O my son, teach them, and watch over them, that no guilt attach to thee on their account. Mahalaleel said, moreover, to his son Jared, when die, embalm my body, and lay it in the cave of treasures by the bodies of my fathers. Then stand thou by my body and pray to God, and take care of them, and fulfill thy ministry before them, until thou enterest into rest thyself. Mahalaleel then blessed all his children, and then lay down on his bed, and entered into rest like his fathers. But when Jared saw that his father Mahalaleel was dead, he wept and sorrowed, and embraced and kissed his hands and his feet, and so did all his children. And his children embalmed him carefully, and laid him by the bodies of his fathers. Then they arose, and mourned for him 40 days. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtext.com. Jared turns martinet. He is lured away to the land of Cain, where he sees many voluptuous sights. Jared barely escapes with a clean heart. Then Jared kept his father's commandment, and arose like a lion over his people. He fed them in righteousness and innocence, and commanded them to do nothing without his counsel, for he was afraid concerning them, lest they should go to the children of Cain. Wherefore did he give them orders repeatedly, and continued to do so until the end of the 485th year of his life. At the end of these said years there came unto him this sign: as Jared was standing like a lion before the bodies of his fathers, praying and warning his people, Satan envied him, and wrought a beautiful apparition, because Jared would not let his children do aught without his counsel. Satan then appeared to him with 30 men of his hosts, in the form of handsome men, Satan himself being the elder and tallest among them, with a fine beard. They stood at the mouth of the cave, and called out Jared from within it. He came out to them, and found them looking like fine men, full of light and of great beauty. He wondered at their beauty and at their looks, and thought within himself whether they might not be of the children of Cain. He said also in his heart, as the children of Cain cannot come up to the height of this mountain, and none of them is so handsome as these appear to be, and among these men there is not one of my kindred, they must be strangers. Then Jared and they exchanged a greeting, and he said to the elder among them, O my father, explain to me the wonder that is in thee, and tell me who these are with thee, for they look to me like strange men. Then the elder began to weep, and the rest wept with him. And he said to Jared, I'm Adam whom God made first, and this is Abel my son, who was killed by his brother Cain, into whose heart Satan put to murder him. Then this is my son Seth, whom asked of the Lord, who gave him to me to comfort me instead of Abel. Then this one is my son Enos, son of Seth, and that other one is Cainan, son of Enos, and that other one is Mahalaleel, son of Cainan, thy father. But Jared remained wondering at their appearance, and at the speech of the elder to him. Then the elder said to him, Marvel not, O my son, we live in the land north of the garden, which God created before the world. He would not let us live there, but placed us inside the garden, below which ye are now dwelling. But after that transgressed, he made me come out of it, and was left to dwell in this cave. Great and sore troubles came upon me, and when my death drew near, commanded my son Seth to tend his people well. And this my commandment is to be handed from one to another, unto the end of the generations to come. But, O Jared, my son, we live in beautiful regions, while you live here in misery, as this thy father Mahalalel informed me, telling me that a great flood will come and overwhelm the whole earth. Therefore, O my son, fearing for your sakes, rose and took my children with me, and came hither for us to visit thee and thy children, but found thee standing in this cave weeping, and thy children scattered about this mountain, in the heat and in misery. But, O my son, as we missed our way and came as far as this, we found other men below this mountain, who inhabit a beautiful country, full of trees and of fruits, and of all manner of verdure. It is like a garden, so that when we found them we thought they were you, until thy father Mahalalel told me they were no such thing. Now therefore, O my son, hearken to my counsel, and go down to them, thou and thy children. Ye will rest from all this suffering in which ye are. But if thou wilt not go down to them, then arise, take thy children, and come with us to our garden. Ye shall live in our beautiful land, and ye shall rest from all this trouble, which thou and thy children are now bearing. But Jared, when he heard this discourse from the elder, wondered, and went hither and thither. But at that moment he found not one of his children. Then he answered and said to the elder, Why have you hidden yourselves until this day? And the elder replied, If thy father had not told us, we should not have known it. Then Jared believed his words were true. So that elder said to Jared, Wherefore didst thou turn about so and so? And he said, I was seeking one of my children, to tell him about my going with you, and about their coming down to those about whom thou hast spoken to me. When the elder heard Jared's intention, he said to him, Let alone that purpose at present, and come with us. Thou shalt see our country. If the land in which we dwell pleases thee, we and thou shall return hither, and take thy family with us. But if our country does not please thee, thou shalt come back to thine own place. And the elder urged Jared to go before one of his children came to counsel him otherwise. Jared then came out of the cave and went with them and among them, and they comforted him until they came to the top of the mountain of the sons of Cain. Then said the elder to one of his companions, We have forgotten something by the mouth of the cave, and that is the chosen garment we had brought to clothe Jared withal. He then said to one of them, Go back, thou someone, and we will wait for thee here until thou come back. Then will we clothe Jared, and he shall be like us, good, handsome, and fit to come with us into our country. Then that one went back. But when he was a short distance off, the elder called to him and said to him, Tarry thou until come up and speak to thee. Then he stood still, and the elder went up to him and said to him, One thing we forgot at the cave, it is this, to put out the lamp that burns inside it, above the bodies that are therein. Then come back to us quick. That one went, and the elder came back to his fellows and to Jared, and they came down from the mountain, and Jared with them, and they stayed by a fountain of water near the houses of the children of Cain, and waited for their companion until he brought the garment for Jared. He then, who went back to the cave, put out the lamp, and came to them, and brought a phantom with him, and showed it them. And when Jared saw it, he wondered at the beauty and grace thereof, and rejoiced in his heart, believing it was all true. But while they were staying there, 3 of them went into houses of the sons of Cain, and said to them, Bring us today some food by the fountain of water, for us and our companions to eat. But when the sons of Cain saw them, they wondered at them, and thought, These are beautiful to look at, and such as we never saw before. So they rose and came with them to the fountain of water to see their companions. They found them so very handsome that they cried aloud about their places for others to gather together and come and look at these beautiful beings. Then they gathered around them both men and women. Then the elder said to them, We are strangers in your land. Bring us some good food, and drink you and your women, to refresh ourselves with you. When those men heard these words of the elder, every one of Cain's sons brought his wife, and another brought his daughter, and so many women came to them, every one addressing Jared either for himself or for his wife, all alike. But when Jared saw what they did, his very soul wrenched itself from them. Neither would he taste of their food or of their drink. The elder saw a hint as he wrenched himself from them, and said to him, Be not sad. And the great elder, as thou shalt see me do thyself in like manner. Then he spread his hands and took one of the women, and 5 of his companions did the same before Jared, that he should do as they did. But when Jared saw them working infamy, he wept, and said in his mind, My fathers never did the like. He then spread his hands and prayed with a fervent heart, and with much weeping, and entreated God to deliver him from their hands. No sooner did Jared begin to pray than the elder fled with his companions, for they could not abide in a place of prayer. Then Jared turned round, but could not see them, but found himself standing in the midst of the children of Cain. He then wept and said, O God, destroy me not with this race, concerning which my fathers have warned me. For now, O my Lord God, was thinking that those who appeared unto me were my fathers, but have found them out to be devils, who allured me by this beautiful apparition, until believed them. But now ask thee, O God, to deliver me from this race, among whom am now staying, as thou didst deliver me from those devils. Send thy angel to draw me out of the midst of them, for have not myself power to escape from among them. When Jared had ended his prayer, God sent his angel in the midst of them, who took Jared and set him upon the mountain, and showed him the way, gave him counsel, and then departed from him. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92 secrettexts.com, Chap 18. Confusion in the Cave of Treasures. Miraculous speech of the dead Adam. The children of Jared were in the habit of visiting him hour after hour to receive his blessing and to ask his advice for everything they did. And when he had a work to do, they did it for him. But this time when they went into the cave, they found not Jared, but they found the lamp put out, and the bodies of the fathers thrown about, and voices came from them by the power of God that said, Satan in an apparition has deceived our son, wishing to destroy him, as he destroyed our son Cain. They said also, Lord God of heaven and earth, deliver our son from the hand of Satan, who wrought a great and false apparition before him. They also spake of other matters by the power of God. But when the children of Jared heard these voices, they feared, and stood weeping for their father, for they knew not what had befallen him. And they wept for him that day until the setting of the sun. Then came Jared with a woeful countenance, wretched in mind and body, and sorrowful at having been separated from the bodies of his fathers. But as he was drawing near to the cave, his children saw him, and hastened to the cave, and hung upon his neck, crying, and saying to him, O Father, where hast thou been, and why hast thou left us, as thou wast not wont to do? And again, O Father, when thou didst disappear, the lamp over the bodies of our fathers went out, the bodies were thrown about, and voices came from them. When Jared heard this, he was sorry, and went into the cave, and there found the bodies thrown about, the lamp put out, and the fathers themselves praying for his deliverance from the hand of Satan. Then Jared fell upon the bodies and embraced them, and said, O my fathers, through your intercession, let God deliver me from the hand of Satan, and beg you will ask God to keep me, and to bide me from him unto the day of my death. Then all the voices ceased, save the voice of our father Adam, who spake to Jared by the power of God, just as one would speak to his fellow, saying, O Jared, my son, offer gifts to God for having delivered thee from the hand of Satan. And when thou bringest those offerings, so be it that thou offerest them on the altar on which did offer. Then also beware of Satan, for he deluded me many a time with his apparitions, wishing to destroy me, but God delivered me out of his hand. Command thy people that they be on their guard against him, and never cease to offer up gifts to God. Then the voice of Adam also became silent, and Jared and his children wondered at this. Then they laid the bodies as they were at first, and Jared and his children stood praying the whole of that night until break of day. Then Jared made an offering and offered it up on the altar, as Adam had commanded him. And as he went up to the altar, he prayed to God for mercy and for forgiveness of his sin, concerning the lamp going out. Then God appeared unto Jared on the altar, and blessed him and his children, and accepted their offerings, and commanded Jared to take of the sacred fire from the altar, and with it to light the lamp that shed light on the body of Adam. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1920 Then God revealed to him again the promise he had made to Adam. He explained to him the 5,500 years, and revealed unto him the mystery of his coming upon the earth. And God said to Jared, As to that fire which thou hast taken from the altar to light the lamp withal, let it abide with you to give light to the bodies, and let it not come out of the cave until the body of Adam comes out of it. But, O Jared, take care of the fire, that it burn bright in the lamp. Neither go thou again out of the cave until thou receivest an order through a vision, and not in an apparition when seen by thee. Then command again thy people not to hold intercourse with the children of Cain, and not to learn their ways, for am God who loves not hatred and works of iniquity. God gave also many other commandments to Jared, and blessed him, and then withdrew his word from him. Then Jared drew near with his children, took some fire, and came down to the cave, and lighted the lamp before the body of Adam. And he gave his people commandments as God had told him to do. This sign happened to Jared at the end of his 450th year, as did also many other wonders we do not record, but we record only this one for shortness' sake, and in order not to lengthen our narrative. And Jared continued to teach his children 80 years. But after that they began to transgress the commandments he had given them, and to do many things without his counsel. They began to go down from the holy mountain one after another, and to mix with the children of Cain in foul fellowships. Now the reason for which the children of Jared went down the holy mountain is this, that we will now reveal unto you the Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1960texts.com. Ravishing music, strong drink loosed among the sons of Cain. They don colorful clothing. The children of Seth look on with longing eyes. They revolt from wise counsel. They descend the mountain into the valley of iniquity. They cannot ascend the mountain again. After Cain had gone down to the land of dark soil, and his children had multiplied therein, there was one of them whose name was Genun, son of Lamech the blind, who slew Cain. But as to this Genun, Satan came into him in his childhood, and he made sundry trumpets and horns, and string instruments, cymbals and psalteries, and lyres and harps and flutes, and he played on them at all times and at every hour. And when he played on them, Satan came into them, so that from among them were heard beautiful and sweet sounds that ravished the heart. Then he gathered companies upon companies to play on them, and when they played, it pleased well the children of Cain, who inflamed themselves with sin among themselves, and burnt as with fire, while Satan inflamed their hearts, one with another, and increased lust among them. Satan also taught Genun to bring strong drink out of cum, and this Genun used to bring together companies upon companies in drink houses, and brought into their hands all manner of fruits and flowers, and they drank together. Thus did this Genun multiply sin exceedingly. He also acted with pride, and taught the children of Cain to commit all manner of the grossest wickedness, which they knew not, and put them up to manifold doings which they knew not before. Then Satan, when he saw that they yielded to Genun and hearkened to him in everything he told them, rejoiced greatly, increased Genun's understanding, until he took iron and with it made weapons of war. Then when they were drunk, hatred and murder increased among them. One man used violence against another to teach him evil, taking his children and defiling them before him. And when men saw they were overcome, and saw others that were not overpowered, Those who were beaten came to Janun, took refuge with him, and he made them his confederates. Then sin increased among them greatly, until a man married his own sister, or daughter, or mother, and others, or the daughter of his father's sister, so that there was no more distinction of relationship, and they no longer knew what is iniquity, but did wickedly, and the earth was defiled with sin, and they angered God the judge, who had created them. But Janun gathered together companies upon companies, that played on horns and on all the other instruments we have already mentioned, at the foot of the holy mountain. And they did so in order that the children of Seth who were on the holy mountain should hear it. But when the children of Seth heard the noise, they wondered, and came by companies, and stood on the top of the mountain to look at those below. And they did thus a whole year. When, at the end of that year, Janun saw that they were being won over to him little by little, Satan entered into him, and taught him to make dyeing stuffs for garments of divers patterns, and made him understand how to dye crimson and purple and whatnot. And the sons of Cain, who wrought all this, and shone in beauty and gorgeous apparel, gathered together at the foot of the mountain in splendor, with horns and gorgeous dresses, and horse races, committing all manner of abominations. Meanwhile the children of Seth, who were on the holy mountain, prayed and praised God in the place of the hosts of angels who had fallen, wherefore God had called them angels, because he rejoiced over them greatly. But after this they no longer kept his commandment, nor held by the promise he had made to their fathers, but they relaxed from their fasting and praying, and from the counsel of Jared their father. And they kept on gathering together on the top of the mountain, to look upon the children of Cain from morning until evening, and upon what they did, upon their beautiful dresses and ornaments. Then the children of Cain looked up from below, and saw the children of Seth standing in troops on the top of the mountain, and they called to them to come down to them. But the children of Seth said to them from above, "We don't know the way." Then Janun, the son of Lamech, heard them say they did not know the way, and he bethought himself how he might bring them down. Then Satan appeared to him by night, saying, "There is no way for them to come down from the mountain on which they dwell. But when they come tomorrow, say to them, Come ye to the western side of the mountain. There you will find the way of a stream of water that comes down to the foot of the mountain, between two hills. Come down that way to us." Then when it was day, Janun blew the horns and beat the drums below the mountain, as he was wont. The children of Seth heard it, and came as they used to do. Then Janun said to them from down below, "Go to the western side of the mountain. There you will find the way to come down." But when the children of Seth heard these words from him, they went back into the cave to Jared to tell him all they had heard. Then when Jared heard it, he was grieved, for he knew that they would transgress his counsel. After this 100 men of the children of Seth gathered together, and said among themselves, "Come, let us go down to the children of Cain, and see what they do, and enjoy ourselves with them." But when Jared heard this of the 100 men, his very soul was moved, and his heart was grieved. He then arose with great fervor, and stood in the midst of them, and adjured them by the blood of Abel the just, "Let not one of you go down from this holy and pure mountain, in which our fathers have ordered it to dwell." But when Jared saw that they did not receive his words, he said unto them, "O my good and innocent and holy children, know that when once you go down from this holy mountain, God will not allow you to return again to it." He again adjured them, saying, "I adjure by the death of our father Adam, and by the blood of Abel, of Seth, of Enos, of Cainan, and of Mahalaleel, to hearken to me, and not to go down from this holy mountain. For the moment you leave it, you will be reft of life and of mercy, and you shall no longer be called children of God, but children of the devil." But they would not hearken to his words. Enoch at that time was already grown up, and in his zeal for God he arose and said, "Hear me, O ye sons of Seth, small and great, when ye transgress the commandment of our fathers, and go down from this holy mountain. He shall not come up hither again forever. But they rose up against Enoch, and would not hearken to his words, but went down from the holy mountain. And when they looked at the daughters of Cain, at their beautiful figures, and at their hands and feet dyed with color, and tattooed in ornaments on their faces, the fire of sin was kindled in them. Then Satan made them look most beautiful before the sons of Seth, as he also made the sons of Seth appear of the fairest in the eyes of the daughters of Cain, so that the daughters of Cain lusted after the sons of Seth like ravenous beasts, and the sons of Seth after the daughters of Cain, until they committed abomination with them. But after they had thus fallen into this defilement, they returned by the way they had come, and tried to ascend the holy mountain. But they could not, because the stones of that holy mountain were a fire flashing before them, by reason of which they could not go up again. And God was angry with them, and repented of them, because they had come down from glory, and had thereby lost or forsaken their own purity or innocence, and were fallen into the defilement of sin. Then God sent his word to Jared, saying, These thy children, whom thou didst call my children, behold, they have transgressed my commandment, and have gone down to the abode of perdition and of sin. Send a messenger to those that are left, that they may not go down and be lost. Then Jared wept before the Lord, and asked of him mercy and forgiveness. But he wished that his soul might depart from his body, rather than hear these words from God about the going down of his children from the holy mountain. But he followed God's order, and preached unto them not to go down from that holy mountain, and not to hold intercourse with the children of Cain. But they heeded not his message, and would not obey his counsel. The Forgotten Books of Eden, by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92surgetsex.com. Jared dies in sorrow for his sons who had gone astray. A prediction of the flood. After this another company gathered together, and they went to look after their brethren, but they perished as well as they. And so it was, company after company, until only a few of them were left. Then Jared sickened from grief, and his sickness was such that the day of his death drew near. Then he called Enoch his eldest son, and Methuselah Enoch's son, and Lamech the son of Methuselah, and Noah the son of Lamech. And when they were come to him, he prayed over them, and blessed them, and said to them, Ye are righteous, innocent sons, go ye not down from this holy mountain. For behold, your children and your children's children have gone down from this holy mountain, and have estranged themselves from this holy mountain, through their abominable lust and transgression of God's commandment. But know through the power of God that he will not leave you on this holy mountain, because your children have transgressed his commandment and that of our fathers, which we had received from them. But, O my sons, God will take you to a strange land, and ye never shall again return to behold with your eyes this garden and this holy mountain. Therefore, O my sons, set your hearts on your own selves, and keep the commandment of God which is with you. And when you go from this holy mountain into a strange land which ye know not, take with you the body of our father Adam, and with it these three precious gifts and offerings, namely the gold, the incense, and the myrrh, and let them be in the place where the body of our father Adam shall lay. And unto him of you who shall be left, O my sons, shall the word of God come. And when he goes out of this land, he shall take with him the body of our father Adam, and shall lay it in the middle of the earth, the place in which salvation shall be wrought. Then Noah said unto him, Who is he of us that shall be left? And Jared answered, Thou art he that shall be left, and thou shalt take the body of our father Adam from the cave, and place it with thee in the ark when the flood comes. And thy son Shem, who shall come out of thy loins, he it is who shall lay the body of our father Adam in the middle of the earth, in the place whence salvation shall come. Then Jared turned to his son Enoch, and said unto him, Thou, my son, abide in this cave, and minister diligently before the body of our father Adam all the days of thy life, and feed thy people in righteousness and innocence. And Jared said no more. His hands were loosened, his eyes closed, and he entered into rest like his fathers. His death took place in the 360th year of Noah, and in the 989th year of his own life, on the 12th of Taxus on a Friday. But as Jared died, tears streamed down his face by reason of his great sorrow, for the children of Seth who had fallen in his days. Then Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah, these four wept over him, embalmed him carefully, and then laid him in the cave of treasures. Then they rose and mourned for him 40 days. And when these days of mourning were ended, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah remained in sorrow of heart, because their father had departed from them, and they saw him no more. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 19 at sacredtext.com. CHEAP XXXIL. Only 3 righteous men left in the world, the evil conditions of men prior to the flood. But Enoch kept the commandment of Jared his father, and continued to minister in the cave. It is this Enoch to whom many wonders happened, and who also wrote a celebrated book. But those wonders may not be told in this place. Then after this, the children of Seth went astray and fell, they, their children, and their wives. And when Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah saw them, their hearts suffered by reason of their fall into doubt, full of unbelief. And they wept and sought of God mercy, to preserve them, and to bring them out of that wicked generation. Enoch continued in his ministry before the Lord 385 years. And at the end of that time he became aware through the grace of God that God intended to remove him from the earth. He then said to his son, O my son, know that God intends to bring the waters of the flood upon the earth, and to destroy our creation. And ye are the last rulers over this people on this mountain. For know that not one will be left you to beget children on this holy mountain. Neither shall any one of you rule over the children of his people. Neither shall any great company be left of you on this mountain. Enoch said also to them, watch over your souls, and hold fast by your fear of God and by your service of him, and worship him in upright faith, and serve him in righteousness, innocence and judgment, in repentance and also in purity. When Enoch had ended his commandments to them, God transported him from that mountain to the land of life, to the mansions of the righteous and of the chosen, the abode of paradise of joy, in light that reaches up to heaven, light that is outside the light of this world, for it is the light of God that fills the whole world, but which no place can contain. Thus, because Enoch was in the light of God, he found himself out of the reach of death, until God would have him die. Altogether, not one of our fathers or of their children remained on that holy mountain, except those 3, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah. For all the rest went down from the mountain and fell into sin with the children of Cain. Therefore were they forbidden that mountain, and none remained on it but those 3 men. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtexts.com. The Book of the Secrets of Enoch. This new fragment of early literature came to light through certain manuscripts which were recently found in Russia and Serbia, and so far as is yet known, has been preserved only in Slavonic. Little is known of its origin, except that in its present form it was written somewhere about the beginning of the Christian era. Its final editor was a Greek, and the place of its composition Egypt. Its value lies in the unquestioned influence which it has exerted on the writers of the New Testament, some of the dark passages of the latter being all but inexplicable without its aid. Although the very knowledge that such a book ever existed was lost for probably 1,200 years, it nevertheless was much used by both Christian and heretic in the early centuries, and forms a most valuable document in any study of the forms of early Christianity. The writing appeals to the reader who thrills to lend wings to his thoughts and fly to mystical realms. Here is a strange dramatization of eternity, with views on creation, anthropology, and ethics. As the world was made in 6 days, so its history would be accomplished in 6,000 years, or 6,000,000 years, and this would be followed by 1,000 years of rest. possibly when the balance of conflicting moral forces has been struck and human life has reached the ideal state. At its close would begin the eighth eternal day when time should be no more. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92-shribshuitext.com. An account of the mechanism of the world showing the machinery of the sun and moon in operation, astronomy, and an interesting ancient calendar. See Chapter 15-17, also 21. What the world was like before creation. See Chapter 24. Chapter 26 is especially picturesque. A unique account of how Satan was created. Chapter 29. There was a wise man, a great artificer, and the Lord conceived love for him and received him, that he should behold the uppermost dwellings and be an eyewitness of the wise and great and inconceivable and immutable realm of God Almighty, of the very wonderful and glorious and bright and many-eyed station of the Lord's servants, and of the inaccessible throne of the Lord, and of the degrees and manifestations of the incorporeal hosts, and of the ineffable ministration of the multitude of the elements, and of the various apparition and inexpressible singing of the host of cherubim, and of the boundless light. At that time, he said, when my 165th year was completed, begat my son Methuselah. After this too lived 200 years, and completed of all the years of my life 365 years. On the first day of the first month was in my house alone, and was resting on my couch, and slept. And when was asleep, great distress came up into my heart, and was weeping with my eyes in sleep, and could not understand what this distress was, or what would happen to me. And there appeared to me two men exceeding big, so that never saw such on earth. Their faces were shining like the sun, their eyes too were like a burning light, and from their lips was fire coming forth, with clothing and singing of various kinds, in appearance purple. Their wings were brighter than gold, their hands whiter than snow. They were standing at the head of my couch, and began to call me by my name, and arose from my sleep, and saw clearly those two men standing in front of me, and saluted them, and was seized with fear, and the appearance of my face was changed from terror. And those men said to me, have courage, Enoch, do not fear, the eternal God sent us to thee, and lo, thou shalt today ascend with us into heaven, and thou shalt tell thy sons and all thy household all that they shall do without thee on earth in thy house, and let no one seek thee till the Lord return thee to them. And made haste to obey them, and went out from my house, and made to the doors, as it was ordered me, and summoned my sons Methuselah and Regem, and gated, and made known to them all the marvels those men had told me. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92symphordtext.com. The instruction, how Enoch instructed his sons. Listen to me, my children. Know not whither go, or what will befall me. Now therefore, my children, tell you, turn not from God before the face of the vain, who made not heaven and earth, for these shall perish, and those who worship them. And may the Lord make confident your hearts in the fear of him. And now, my children, let no one think to seek me, until the Lord return me to you. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92shribshuitext.com. Of Enoch's assumption, how the angels took him into the first heaven. It came to pass, when Enoch had told his sons, that the angels took him onto their wings, and bore him up onto the first heaven, and placed him on the clouds. And there looked, and again looked higher, and saw the ether. And they placed me on the first heaven, and showed me a very great sea, greater than the earthly sea. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92shribshuitext.com. V. Of the dew, and of the olive oil, and various flowers. They showed me the treasure house of the dew, like oil of the olive, and the appearance of its form, as of all the flowers of the earth. Further, many angels guarding the treasure houses of these things, and how they are made to shut and open. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92shribshuitext.com. of how Enoch was taken on to the second heaven. And those men took me and led me up onto the second heaven, and showed me darkness, greater than earthly darkness, and there saw prisoners hanging, watched, awaiting the great and boundless judgment. And these angels were dark-looking, more than earthly darkness, and incessantly making weeping through all hours. And said to the men who were with me, Wherefore are these incessantly tortured? They answered me, These are God's apostates, who obeyed not God's commands, but took counsel with their own will, and turned away with their prince, who also is fastened on the fifth heaven, and felt great pity for them. And they saluted me, and said to me, Man of God, pray for us to the Lord. And answered to them, Who am I, a mortal man, that should pray for angels? Who knoweth whither go, or what will befall me, or who will pray for me? The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtext.com. Of the assumption of Enoch to the third heaven. And those men took me thence, and led me up onto the third heaven, and placed me there, and looked downwards, and saying the produce of these places, such as has never been known for goodness, and saw all the sweet flowering trees, and beheld their fruits, which were sweet smelling, and all the foods borne by them bubbling with fragrant exhalation. And in the midst of the trees that of life, in that place whereon the Lord rests, when he goes up into paradise, and this tree is of ineffable goodness and fragrance, and adorned more than every existing thing, and on all sides it is in form gold-looking, and vermilion, and fire-like, and covers all, and it has produced from all fruits. Its root is in the garden at the earth's end, and paradise is between corruptibility and incorruptibility. And two springs come out which send forth honey and milk, and their springs send forth oil and wine, and they separate into 4 parts, and go round with quiet course, and go down into the paradise of Eden, between corruptibility and incorruptibility. And thence they go forth along the earth, and have a revolution to their circle, even as other elements. And here there is no unfruitful tree, and every place is blessed. And there are 300 angels very bright, who keep the garden, and with incessant sweet singing and never silent voices serve the Lord throughout all days and hours. And said, How very sweet is this place. And those men said to me, The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 19th-centurytexts.com. The showing to Enoch of the place of the righteous and compassionate. This place, O Enoch, is prepared for the righteous, who endure all manner of offense from those that exasperate their souls, who avert their eyes from iniquity, and make righteous judgment, and give bread to the hungering, and cover the naked with clothing, and raise up the fallen, and help injured orphans, and who walk without fault before the face of the Lord, and serve him alone, and for them is prepared this place for eternal inheritance. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 19th-centurytexts.com. Here they showed Enoch the terrible place and various tortures. And those 2 men led me upon to the northern side, and showed me there a very terrible place, and there were all manner of tortures in that place, cruel darkness and unillumined gloom, and there is no light there, but murky fire constantly flames aloft, and there is a fiery river coming forth, and that whole place is everywhere fire, and everywhere there is frost and ice, thirst and shivering, while the bonds are very cruel, and the angels fearful and merciless, bearing angry weapons, merciless torture, and said, Woe, woe, how very terrible is this place. And those men said to me, This place, O Enoch, is prepared for those who dishonor God, who on earth practice sin against nature, which is child corruption after the sodomitic fashion, magic-making, enchantments, and devilish witchcrafts, and who boast of their wicked deeds, stealing, lies, calumnies, envy, rancor, fornication, murder, and who accursed steal the souls of men, who seeing the poor take away their goods and themselves wax rich, injuring them for other men's goods, who being able to satisfy the empty, made the hungering to die, being able to clothe, stripped the naked, and who knew not their Creator, and bowed down to soulless, lifeless gods, who cannot see nor hear, vain gods, who also built hewn images, and bowed down to unclean handiwork. For all these is prepared this place amongst these, for eternal inheritance. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92surrogatetext.com, XL. Here they took Enoch up onto the fourth heaven, where is the course of sun and moon. Those men took me, and led me up onto the fourth heaven, and showed me all the successive goings, and all the rays of the light of sun and moon, and measured their goings, and compared their light, and saw that the sun's light is greater than the moon's, its circle and the wheels on which it goes always, like a wind going past with very marvelous speed, and day and night it has no rest. Its passage and return are accompanied by 4 great stars, and each star has under it 1,000 stars to the right of the sun's wheel, and by 4 to the left, each having under it 1,000 stars, altogether 8,000, issuing with the sun continually. And by day 15 myriads of angels attend it, and by night 1,000. And 6 winged ones issue with the angels before the sun's wheel into the fiery flames, and 100 angels kindle the sun and set it alight. Footnotes: The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92surrogatetext.com. Of the very marvelous elements of the sun, and looked and saw other flying elements of the sun, whose names are phoenixes and charkydri, marvelous and wonderful, with feet and tails in the form of a lion and a crocodile's head. Their appearance is empurpled like the rainbow. Their size is 900 measures. Their wings are like those of angels. Each has 12, and they attend and accompany the sun, bearing heat and dew, as it is ordered them from God. Thus the sun revolves and goes, and rises under the heaven, and its course goes under the earth with the light of its rays incessantly. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92surrogatetext.com. Zeal. The angels took Enoch and placed him in the east at the sun's gates. Those men bore me away to the east and placed me at the sun's gates, where the sun goes forth according to the regulation of the seasons and the circuit of the months of the whole year, and the number of the hours day and night, and saw 6 gates open, each gate having 61 stadia and a quarter of 1 stadium, and measured them truly, and understood their size to be so much, through which the sun goes forth, and goes to the west, and is made even, and rises throughout all the months, and turns back again from the 6 gates according to the succession of the seasons. Thus the period of the whole year is finished after the returns of the 4 seasons. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92surrogatetext.com. They took Enoch to the west. And again those men led me away to the western parts, and showed me 6 great gates open corresponding to the eastern gates, opposite to where the sun sets, according to the number of the days 365 and a quarter. Thus again it goes down to the western gates, and draws away its light, the greatness of its brightness, under the earth. For since the crown of its shining is in heaven with the Lord, and guarded 400 angels, while the sun goes round on wheel under the earth, and stands 7 great hours in night, and spends half its course under the earth. When it comes to the eastern approach in the 8th hour of the night, it brings its lights, and the crown of shining, and the sun flames forth more than fire. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 19teentage.com. The elements of the sun, the phoenixes and charkydri, broke into song. Then the elements of the sun, called phoenixes and charkydri, break into song. Therefore every bird flutters with its wings, rejoicing at the giver of light, and they broke into song at the command of the Lord. The giver of light comes to give brightness to the whole world, and the morning guard takes shape, which is the rays of the sun, and the sun of the earth goes out, and receives its brightness to light up the whole face of the earth. And they showed me this calculation of the sun's going, and the gates which it enters. These are the great gates of the computation of the hours of the year. For this reason the sun is a great creation, whose circuit lasts 28 years, and begins again from the beginning. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 19teentedge.com. They took Enoch and again placed him in the east at the course of the moon. Those men showed me the other course, that of the moon, 12 great gates, crowned from west to east, by which the moon goes in and out of the customary times. It goes in at the first gate to the western places of the sun, by the first gates with 31 days exactly, by the second gates with 31 days exactly, by the third with 30 days exactly, by the fourth with 30 days exactly, by the fifth with 31 days exactly, by the sixth with 31 days exactly, by the seventh with 30 days exactly, by the eighth with 31 days perfectly, by the ninth with 31 days exactly, by the 10th with 30 days perfectly, by the 11th with 31 days exactly, by the 12th with 28 days exactly. And it goes through the western gates in the order and number of the eastern, and accomplishes the 365 and a quarter days of the solar year, while the lunar year has 354, and there are wanting to it 12 days of the solar circle, which are the lunar epochs of the whole year. For thus too the great circle contains 532 years. The quarter of a day is omitted for 3 years. The fourth fulfills it exactly. Therefore they are taken outside of heaven for 3 years, and are not added to the number of days, because they change the time of the years to 2 new months towards completion, to 2 others towards diminution. And when the western gates are finished, it returns and goes to the eastern, to the lights, and goes thus day and night about the heavenly circles, lower than all circles, swifter than the heavenly winds, and spirits and elements and angels flying. Each angel has 6 wings. It has a 7-fold course in 19 years. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1926 at sacredtext.com. Of the singings of the angels, which it is impossible to describe, in the midst of the heavens saw armed soldiers serving the Lord with tympana and organs, with incessant voice, with sweet and incessant voice in various singing, which it is impossible to describe, and which astonishes every mind, so wonderful and marvelous is the singing of those angels, and was delighted listening to it. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1926. Wherefore are these very withered, and their faces melancholy, and their mouths silent? And wherefore is there no service on this heaven? And they said to me, These are the Grigori, who with their prince Satanael rejected the Lord of light, and after them are those who are held in great darkness on the second heaven. And 3 of them went down onto earth from the Lord's throne to the place Ermin, and broke through their vows on the shoulder of the hill Ermin, and saw the daughters of men how good they are, and took to themselves wives, and befouled the earth with their deeds, who in all times of their age made lawlessness and mixing, and giants are born, and marvellous big men in great enmity. And therefore God judged them with great judgment, and they weep for their brethren, and they will be punished on the Lord's great day. And said to the Grigori, I saw your brethren and their works, and their great torments, and prayed for them, but the Lord has condemned them to be under earth till heaven, and earth shall end forever. And said, Wherefore do you wait, brethren, and do not serve before the Lord's face, and have not put your services before the Lord's face, lest you anger your Lord utterly? And they listened to my admonition, and spoke to the 4 ranks in heaven, and lo, as stood with those 2 men 4 trumpets trumpeted together with great voice, and the Grigori broke into song with one voice, and their voice went up before the Lord pitifully and affectingly. Footnotes 87:1. Compare the second book of Adam and Eve. Chap XX. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92srickedtext.com, of the taking of Enoch unto the sixth heaven. And thence those men took me, and bore me up unto the sixth heaven, and there saw 7 bands of angels, very bright and very glorious, and their faces shining more than the sun's shining, glistening. And there is no difference in their faces, or behavior, or manner of dress. And these make the orders, and learn the goings of the stars, and the alteration of the moon, or revolution of the sun, and the good government of the world. And when they see evil doing, they make commandments and instruction, and sweet and loud singing, and all songs of praise. These are the archangels, who are above angels, measure all life in heaven and on earth, and the angels who appointed over seasons and years, the angels who are over rivers and sea, and who are over the fruits of the earth, and the angels who are over every grass, giving food to all, to every living thing, and the angels who write all the souls of men, and all their deeds and their lives before the Lord's face. In their midst are 6 phoenixes, and 6 cherubim, and 6 winged ones continually, with one voice, singing one voice, and it is not possible to describe their singing. And they rejoice before the Lord at his footstool. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92srickedtext.com. Hence they took Enoch into the 7th heaven. And those 2 men lifted me up thence unto the 7th heaven, and saw there a very great light, and fiery troops of great archangels, incorporeal forces and dominions, orders and governments, cherubim and seraphim, thrones and many-eyed ones, 9 regiments. The lone at stations of light, and became afraid, and began to tremble with great terror. And those men took me, and led me after them, and said to me, Have courage, Enoch, do not fear, and showed me the Lord from afar, sitting on his very high throne. For what is there on the 10th heaven, since the Lord dwells here? On the 10th heaven is God. In the Hebrew tongue he is called Aravat. And all the heavenly troops would come and stand on the 10 steps according to their rank, and would bow down to the Lord, and would again go to their places in joy and felicity, singing songs in the boundless light with small and tender voices, gloriously serving him. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 90srickedtext.com, of how the angels here left Enoch at the end of the 7th heaven and went away from him unseen. And the cherubim and seraphim standing about the throne, the 6-winged and many-eyed ones, do not depart, standing before the Lord's face, doing his will, and cover his whole throne, singing with gentle voice before the Lord's face. Holy, holy, holy Lord, ruler of Sabaoth, heavens and earth are full of thy glory. When saw all these things, those men said to me, Enoch, thus far as it commanded us to journey with thee. And those men went away from me, and thereupon saw them not, and remained alone at the end of the 7th heaven, and became afraid, and fell on my face, and said to myself, Woe is me, what has befallen me? And the Lord sent one of his glorious ones, the archangel Gabriel, and he said to me, Have courage, Enoch, do not fear. Arise before the Lord's face into eternity. Arise, come with me. And answered him, and said to myself, My Lord, my soul is departed from me, from terror and trembling. And called to the men who led me up to this place. On them relied, and it is with them go before the Lord's face. And Gabriel caught me up, as a leaf caught up by the wind, and placed me before the Lord's face, and saw the 8th heaven, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Muzaloth, changer of the seasons, of drought and of wet, and of the 12 signs of the zodiac, which are above the 7th heaven, and saw the 9th heaven, which is called in Hebrew Kuchavim, where are the heavenly homes of the 12 signs of the zodiac. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 90srickedtext.com. In the 10th heaven, the archangel Michael led Enoch to before the Lord's face. On the 10th heaven, Aravoth saw the appearance of the Lord's face, like iron made to glow in fire, and brought out, emitting sparks, and it burns. Thus saw the Lord's face. But the Lord's face is ineffable, marvelous, and very awful, and very, very terrible. And who am to tell of the Lord's unspeakable being, and of his very wonderful face? And cannot tell the quantity of his many instructions and various voices, the Lord's throne very great and not made with hands, nor the quantity of those standing round him, troops of cherubim and seraphim, nor their incessant singing, nor his immutable beauty. And who shall tell of the ineffable greatness of his glory? And fell prone and bowed down to the Lord. And the Lord with his lips said to me, Have courage, Enoch, do not fear. Arise and stand before my face into eternity. And the archistrage Michael lifted me up, and led me to before the Lord's face. And the Lord said to his servants, tempting them, Let Enoch stand before my face into eternity. And the glorious ones bowed down to the Lord, and said, Let Enoch go according to thy word. And the Lord said to Michael, Go and take Enoch from out his earthly garments, and anoint him with my sweet ointment, and put him into the garments of my glory. And Michael did thus as the Lord told him. He anointed me and dressed me, and the appearance of that ointment is more than the great light, and his ointment is like sweet dew, and its smell mild, shining like the sun's ray, and looked at myself, and was like one of his glorious ones. And the Lord summoned one of his archangels by name Praviel, whose knowledge was quicker in wisdom than the other archangels, who wrote all the deeds of the Lord. And the Lord said to Praviel, Bring out the books from my storehouses, and a reed of quick writing, and give it to Enoch, and deliver to him the choice and comforting books out of thy hand. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92secrettext.com. Of Enoch's writing, how he wrote his wonderful journeyings and the heavenly apparitions, and himself wrote 366 books. And he was telling me all the works of heaven, earth, and sea, and all the elements, their passages and goings, and the thunderings of the thunders, the sun and moon, the goings and changes of the stars, the seasons, years, days, and hours, the risings of the wind, the numbers of the angels, and the formation of their songs, and all human things, the tongue of every human song and life, the commandments, instructions, and sweet-voiced singings, and all things that it is fitting to learn. And Praviel told me, All the things that have told thee we have written. Sit and write all the souls of mankind, however many of them are born, and the places prepared for them to eternity, for all souls are prepared to eternity before the formation of the world, and all double 30 days and 30 nights, and wrote out all things exactly, and wrote 366 books. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92secrettext.com. Of the great secrets of God, which God revealed and told to Enoch, and spoke with him face to face. And the Lord summoned me, and said to me, Enoch, sit down on my left with Gabriel, and bowed down to the Praviel. Lord, and the Lord spoke to me, Enoch, beloved, all thou seest, all things that are standing finished, tell to thee even before the very beginning, all that created from non-being, and visible things from invisible. Hear, Enoch, and take in these my words, for not to my angels have told my secret, and have not told them their rise, nor my endless realm, nor have they understood my creating, which tell thee today. For before all things were visible, alone used to go about in the invisible things, like the sun from east to west, and from west to east. But even the sun has peace in itself, while found no peace, because was creating all things, and conceived the thought of placing foundations, and of creating visible creation. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92secrettext.com. God relates to Enoch how out of the very lowest darkness comes down the visible and invisible, commanded in the very lowest parts that visible things should come down from invisible. And a Doyle came down very great, and beheld him, and lo, he had a belly of great light, and said to him, Become undone, Adoyle, and let the visible come out of thee. And he came undone, and a great light came out. and was in the midst of the great light. And as there is born light from light, there came forth a great age, and showed all creation which had thought to create, and saw that it was good, and placed for myself a throne, and took my seat on it, and said to the light, Go thou up higher, and fix thyself high above the throne, and be a foundation to the highest things. And above the light there is nothing else. And then bent up and looked up from my throne. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1973, at sacredtext.com. God summons from the very lowest a second time that Arcus, heavy and very red, should come forth. And summoned the very lowest a second time, and said, Let Arcus come forth hard. And he came forth hard from the invisible. And Arcus came forth hard, heavy, and very red, and said, Be opened, Arcus, and let there be born from thee. And he came undone. An age came forth, very great and very dark, bearing the creation of all lower things, and saw that it was good, and said to him, Go thou down below, and make thyself firm, and be for a foundation for the lower things. And it happened, and he went down and fixed himself, and became the foundation for the lower things, and below the darkness there is nothing else. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 90structurefordtext.com, of how God founded the water and surrounded it with light, and established on it 7 islands, and commanded that there should be taken from light and darkness, and said, Be thick, and it became thus, and spread it out with the light, and it became water, and spread it out over the darkness below the light, and then made firm the waters, that is to say, the bottomless, and made foundation of light around the water, and created 7 circles from inside, and imaged it, the water, like crystal wet and dry, that is to say, like glass, and the circumcision of the waters and the other elements, and showed each one of them its road, and the 7 stars each one of them in its heaven, that they go thus, and saw that it was good, and separated between light and between darkness, that is to say, in the midst of the water, hither and thither, and said to the light that it should be the day, and to the darkness that it should be the night. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 19structurefordtext.com. The week in which God showed Enoch all his wisdom and power throughout all the 7 days, how he created all the heavenly and earthly forces and all moving things even down to man, and then made firm the heavenly circle, and made that the lower water which is under heaven collect itself together into one whole, and that the chaos become dry, and it became So. Out of the waves created rock hard and big, and from the rock piled up the dry, and the dry called earth, and the midst of the earth called abyss, that is to say, the bottomless, collected the sea in one place, and bound it together with a yoke, and said to the sea, Behold, give thee thy eternal limits, and thou shalt not break loose from thy component parts. Thus made fast the firmament. This day called me the first created. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtext.com. Then it became evening, and then again morning, and it was the second day. The fiery essence, and for all the heavenly troops, imaged the image and essence of fire, and my eye looked at the very hard, firm rock. And from the gleam of my eye the lightning received its wonderful nature, which is both fire and water and fire, and one does not put out the other, nor does the one dry up the other. Therefore the lightning is brighter than the sun, softer than water, and firmer than hard rock. And from the rock cut off a great fire, and from the fire created the orders of the incorporeal 10 troops of angels, and their weapons are fiery, and their raiment a burning flame, and commanded that each one should stand in his order. Here Satanael with his angels was thrown down from the height, and one from out the order of angels, having turned away with the order that was under him, conceived an impossible thought, to place his throne higher than the clouds above the earth, that he might become equal in rank to my power, and threw him out from the height with his angels, and he was flying in the air continuously above the bottomless. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtexts.com, and then created all the heavens, and the third day on the third day commanded the earth to make grow great and fruitful trees, and hills, and seed to sow, and planted paradise, and enclosed it, and placed as armed guardians flaming angels, and thus created renewal. Then came evening, and came morning the fourth day. 3. On the fourth day commanded that there should be great lights on the heavenly circles. On the first uppermost circle placed the stars Chrono, and on the second Aphrodite, on the third Aris, on the fifth Zeus, on the sixth Hermes, on the seventh Lesser the moon, and adorned it with the lesser stars, and on the lower placed the sun for the illumination of day, and the moon and stars for the illumination of night. The sun that it should go according to each animal, signs of the zodiac. 12. And appointed the succession of the months and their names and lives, their thunderings and their hour markings, how they should succeed. Then evening came, and morning came the fifth day. 8. On the fifth day commanded the sea that it should bring forth fishes, and feathered birds of many varieties, and all animals creeping over the earth, going forth over the earth on 4 legs, and soaring in the air, male sex and female, and every soul breathing the spirit of life. And there came evening, and there came morning the 6th day. 10. On the 6th day commanded my wisdom to create man from 7 consistencies. 1. His flesh from the earth. 2. His blood from the dew. 3. His eyes from the sun. 4. His bones from stone. 5. His intelligence from the swiftness of the angels and from cloud. 6. His veins and his hair from the grass of the earth. 7. His soul from my breath and from the wind. And gave him 7 natures, to the flesh hearing, the eyes for sight, to the soul smell, the veins for touch, the blood for taste, the bones for endurance, to the intelligence sweetness, sex enjoyment. 12. Conceived a cunning saying to say, created man from invisible and from visible nature. Of both are his death and life and image. He knows speech like some created thing, small in greatness and again great in smallness. And placed him on earth, a second angel, honorable, great and glorious, and appointed him as ruler to rule on earth and to have my wisdom. And there was none like him of earth of all my existing creatures. And appointed him a name from the 4 component parts, from east, from west, from south, from north, and appointed for him 4 special stars, and called his name Adam, and showed him the 2 ways, the light and the darkness, and told him, this is good and that bad, that should learn whether he has love towards me, or hatred, that it be clear which in his race love me. 4. Have seen his nature, but he has not seen his own nature, therefore through not seeing he will sin worse. And said, after sin what is there but death? And put sleep into him, and he fell asleep. And took from him a rib, and created him a wife, that death should come to him by his wife, and took his last word, and called her name Mother, that is to say, Eva. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 927text.com. God gives over paradise to Adam, and gives him a command to see the heavens opened, and that he should see the angels singing the song of victory. Adam has life on earth, and created a garden in Eden in the east, that he should observe the testament and keep the command. 2. Made the heavens open to him, that he should see the angels singing the song of victory and the gloomless light. And he was continuously in paradise, and the devil understood that wanted to create another world, because Adam was Lord on earth, to rule and control it. The devil is the evil spirit of the lower places. As a fugitive he made Sotona from the heavens, as his name was Satanael. Thus he became different from the angels. But his nature did not change his intelligence as far as his understanding of righteous and sinful things. And he understood his condemnation and the sin which he had sinned before. Therefore he conceived thought against Adam. In such form he entered and seduced Eva, but did not touch Adam. But cursed ignorance, but what had blessed previously, those did not curse, cursed not man, nor the earth, nor other creatures, but man's evil fruit and his works. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1924 After Adam's sin, God sends him away into the earth whence took thee, but does not wish to ruin him for all years to come. Said to him, Earth thou art, and into the earth whence took thee thou shalt go, and will not ruin thee, but send thee whence took thee. Then can again take thee at my second coming. And blessed all my creatures, visible and invisible. And Adam was 5.5 hours in paradise, and blessed the seventh day, which is the Sabbath, on which he rested from all his works. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92sricktexts.com. God shows Enoch the age of this world, its existence of 7,000 years, and the 8,000 is the end, neither years, nor months, nor weeks, nor days. And appointed the 8th day also, that the 8th day should be the first created after my work, and that the first 7 revolve in the form of the 7,000, and that at the beginning of the 8,000 there should be a time of not counting, endless, with neither years, nor months, nor weeks, nor days, nor hours. And now, Enoch, all that have told thee, all that thou hast understood, all that thou hast seen of heavenly things, all that thou hast seen on earth, and all that have written in books by my great wisdom, all these things have devised and created from the uppermost foundation to the lower and to the end, and there is no counselor nor inheritor to my creations. 3. Am self-eternal, not made with hands, and without change. My thought is my counselor, my wisdom and my word are made, and my eyes observe all things how they stand here and tremble with terror. If turn away my face, then all things will be destroyed. And apply thy mind, Enoch, and know him who is speaking to thee, and take thou the books which thou thyself hast written. And give thee Samuel and Raguel, who led thee up, and the books, and go down to earth, and tell thy sons all that have told thee, and all that thou hast seen from the lower heaven up to my throne, and all the troops. For created all forces, and there is none that resisteth me, or that does not subject himself to me. For all subject themselves to my monarchy, and labor for my sole rule. Give them the books of the handwriting, and they will read them and will know me for the Creator of all things, and will understand how there is no other God but me. And let them distribute the books of thy handwriting, children to children, generation to generation, nations to nations. And will give thee Enoch, my intercessor, the archistrege Michael, for the handwritings of thy fathers Adam, Seth, Enos, Cainan, Mahalaleel, and Jared thy father. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 90sricktexts.com. God convicts the idolaters and sodomitic fornicators, and therefore brings down a deluge upon them. They have rejected my commandments, and my yoke. Worthless seed has come up, not fearing God, and they would not bow down to me, but have begun to bow down to vain gods, and denied my unity, and have laden the whole earth with untruths, offenses, abominable lecheries, namely one with another, and all manner of other unclean wickednesses which are disgusting to relate, and therefore will bring down a deluge upon the earth, and will destroy all men, and the whole earth will crumble together into great darkness. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtexts.com. God leaves one righteous man of Enoch's tribe with his whole house, who did God's pleasure according to his will. Behold, from their seed shall arise another generation much afterwards, but of them many will be very insatiate. He who raises that generation shall reveal to them the books of thy handwriting of thy fathers, to them to whom he must point out the guardianship of the world, to the faithful men and workers of my pleasure, who do not acknowledge my name in vain. And they shall tell another generation, and those others having read shall be glorified thereafter more than the first. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92sricktexts.com. God commanded Enoch to live on earth 30 days, to give instruction to his sons and to his children's children. After 30 days he was again taken on to heaven. Now Enoch, give thee the term of 30 days to spend in thy house, and tell thy sons and all thy household, that all may hear from my face what is told them by thee, that they may read and understand how there is no other God but me, and that they may always keep my commandments, and begin to read and take in the books of thy handwriting. And after 30 days I'll send my angel for thee, and he will take thee from earth and from thy sons to me. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92cinquetext.com. Here God summons an angel, and the Lord called up one of the older angels, terrible and menacing, and placed him by me in appearance white as snow, and his hands like ice, having the appearance of great frost. And he froze my face, because could not endure the terror of the Lord, just as it is not possible to endure a stove's fire and the sun's heat, and the frost of the air. And the Lord said to me, Enoch, if thy face be not frozen here, no man will be able to behold thy face. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92cinquetext.com. Methuselah continued to have hope and to await his father Enoch at his couch day and night. And the Lord said to those men who first led me up, let Enoch go down onto earth with you, and await him till the determined day. And they placed me by night on my couch. And Methuselah, expecting my coming, keeping watch by day and by night at my couch, was filled with awe when he heard my coming, and told him, let all my household come together that tell them everything. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92cinquetext.com. Enoch's pitiful admonition to his sons with weeping and great lamentation, as he spoke to them. O my children, my beloved ones, hear the admonition of your father, as much as is according to the Lord's will. Two have been let come to you today, and announced to you, not from my lips, but from the Lord's lips, all that is and was, and all that is now, and all that will be till judgment day. For the Lord has let me come to you. You hear therefore the words of my lips, of a man made big for you, but am one who has seen the Lord's face. Like iron made to glow from fire, it sends forth sparks and burns. You look now upon my eyes, the eyes of a man big with meaning for you, but have seen the Lord's eyes shining like the sun's rays and filling the eyes of man with awe. You see now, my children, the right hand of a man that helps you, but have seen the Lord's right hand filling heaven as behelped me. You see the compass of my work like your own, but have seen the Lord's limitless and perfect compass which has no end. You hear the words of my lips, as heard the words of the Lord, like great thunder incessantly with hurling of clouds. And now, my children, hear the discourses of the Father of the earth, how fearful and awful it is to come before the face of the ruler of the earth. How much more terrible and awful it is to come before the face of the ruler of heaven, the controller of quick and dead, and of the heavenly troops. Who can endure that endless pain? The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtexts.com. Enoch admonishes his children truly of all things from the Lord's lips, how he saw and heard and wrote down. And now, my children, know all things, for this is from the Lord's lips, and this my eyes have seen from beginning to end. Two know all things, and have written all things into books, the heavens and their end, and their plenitude, and all the armies and their marchings. Three have measured and described the stars, the great countless multitude of them. What man has seen their revolutions and their entrances? For not even the angels see their number, while have written all their names, and measured the sun's circle, and measured its rays, counted the hours, wrote down too all things that go over the earth, have written the things that are nourished, and all seed sown and unsown, which the earth produces, and all plants, and every grass and every flower, and their sweet smells, and their names, and the dwelling places of the clouds, and their composition, and their wings, and how they bear rain and raindrops, and investigated all things, and wrote the road of the thunder and of the lightning. And they showed me the keys and their guardians, their rise, the way they go. It is let out in measure, scored gently by a chain, lest by a heavy chain and violence it hurl down the angry clouds and destroy all things on earth. 7 wrote the treasure houses of the snow, and the storehouses of the cold and the frosty airs, and observed their season's keyholder. He fills the clouds with them, and does not exhaust the treasure houses, and wrote the resting places of the winds, and observed and saw how their keyholders bear weighing scales and measures. First they put them in one weighing scale, then in the other the weights, and let them out according to measure cunningly over the whole earth, lest by heavy breathing they make the earth to rock. And measured out the whole earth, its mountains and all hills, fields, trees, stones, rivers, all existing things wrote down, the height from earth to the 7th heaven, and downwards to the very lowest hell, and the judgment place, and the very great open and weeping hell, and saw how the prisoners are in pain, expecting the limitless judgment, and wrote down all those being judged by the judge, and all their judgments, sentence, and all their works. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92secrettexts.com, of how Enoch lamented Adam's sin, and saw all forefathers from all time with Adam and Eva, and sighed and broke into tears, and said of the ruin of their dishonor, Woe is me for my infirmity and for that of my forefathers, and thought in my heart and said, Blessed is the man who has not been born, or who has been born and shall not sin before the Lord's face, that he come not into this place, nor bring the yoke of this place. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92secrettexts.com, of how Enoch saw the keyholders and guards of the gates of hell standing. Saw the keyholders and guards of the gates of hell standing, like great serpents, and their faces like extinguished lamps, and their eyes of fire, their sharp teeth, and saw all the Lord's works, how they are right, while the works of man are some good, and others bad, and in their works are known those who lie evilly. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92secrettexts.com. Enoch shows his children how he measured and wrote out God's judgments. My children measured and wrote out every work and every measure and every righteous judgment. As 1 year is more honorable than another, so is one man more honorable than another, some for great possessions, some for wisdom of heart, some for particular intellect, some for cunning, one for silence of lip, another for cleanliness, one for strength, another for comeliness, one for youth, another for sharp wit, one for shape of body, another for sensibility. Let it be heard everywhere, but there is none better than he who fears God. He shall be more glorious in time to come. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtexts.com. Enoch instructs his sons that they revile not the face of man, small or great. The Lord with his hands having created man, in the likeness of his own face, the Lord made him small and great. Whoever reviles the ruler's face and abhors the Lord's face has despised the Lord's face, and who vents anger on any man without injury. The Lord's great anger will cut him down. He who spits on the face of man reproachfully will be cut down at the Lord's great judgment. Blessed is the man who does not direct his heart with malice against any man, and helps the injured and condemned, and raises the broken down, and shall do charity to the needy, because on the day of the great judgment every weight, every measure, and every make-weight will be as in the market. That is to say, they are hung on scales and stand in the market, and every one shall learn his own measure, and according to his measure shall take his reward. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92secrettexts.com. God shows how he does not want from men sacrifices, nor burnt offerings, but pure and contrite hearts. Whoever hastens to make offering before the Lord's face, the Lord for his part will hasten that offering by granting of his work. But whoever increases his lamp before the Lord's face and make not true judgment, the Lord will not increase his treasure in the realm of the highest. When the Lord demands bread, or candles, or flesh, sex cattle, or any other sacrifice, then that is nothing. But God demands pure hearts, and with all that only tests the heart of man. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 19 Sure, at sacredtext.com, of how an earthly ruler does not accept from man abominable and unclean gifts, then how much more does God abominate unclean gifts, but sends them away with wrath and does not accept his gifts? Hear, my people, and take in the words of my lips. If anyone bring any gifts to an earthly ruler and have disloyal thoughts in his heart, and the ruler know this, will he not be angry with him and not refuse his gifts, and not give him over to judgment? Or if one man make himself appear good to another by deceit of tongue, but have evil in his heart, then will not the other understand the treachery of his heart, and himself be condemned, since his untruth was plain to all? And when the Lord shall send a great light, then there will be judgment for the just and the unjust, and there no one shall escape notice. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., at sacredtext.com. Enoch instructs his sons from God's lips and hands them the handwriting of this book. And now, my children, lay thought on your hearts, mark well the words of your Father, which are all come to you from the Lord's lips. 2, take these books of your Father's handwriting and read them, for the books are many, and in them you will learn all the Lord's works, all that has been from the beginning of creation and will be till the end of time. And if you will observe my handwriting, you will not sin against the Lord, because there is no other except the Lord, neither in heaven nor in earth, nor in the very lowest places, nor in the one foundation. The Lord has placed the foundations in the unknown and has spread forth heavens visible and invisible. He fixed the earth on the waters and created countless creatures, and who has counted the water and the foundation of the unfixed, or the dust of the earth, or the sand of the sea, or the drops of the rain, or the morning dew, or the wind's breathings? Who has filled earth and sea and the indissoluble winter? 6, cut the stars out of fire and decorated heaven and put it in their midst. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 926sacredtexts.com. Of the sun's passage along the 7 circles, that the sun go along the 7 heavenly circles, which are the appointment of 182 thrones, that it go down on a short day, and again 182, that it go down on a big day, and he has 2 thrones on which he rests, revolving hither and thither above the thrones of the months. From the 17th day of the month Sivan it goes down to the month Thivan. From the 17th of Thivan it goes up, and thus it goes close to the earth. Then the earth is and makes grow its fruit. And when it goes away, then the earth is sad, and trees and all fruits have no florescence. All this he measured with good measurement of hours, and fixed a measure by his wisdom of the visible and the invisible. From the invisible he made all things visible, himself being invisible. Thus make known to you, my children, and distribute the books to your children into all your generations, and amongst the nations who shall have the sense to fear God, let them receive them, and may they come to love them more than any food or earthly sweets, and read them and apply themselves to them. And those who understand not the Lord, who fear not God, who accept not but reject, who do not receive them, sack the books. A terrible judgment awaits these. Blessed is the man who shall bear their yoke, and shall drag them along, for he shall be released on the day of the great judgment. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., at sacredtext.com. Enoch instructs his sons not to swear either by heaven or earth, and shows God's promise, even in the mother's womb. Swear to you, my children, but swear not by any oath, neither by heaven nor by earth, nor by any other creature which God created. The Lord said, there is no oath in me, nor injustice, but truth. If there is no truth in men, let them swear by the words yea, yea, or else nay, nay. and swear to you, yea, that there has been no man in his mother's womb, but that already before, even to each one there is a place prepared for the repose of the soul, and a measure fixed how much it is intended that a man be tried in this world. Yea, children, deceive not yourselves, for there has been previously prepared a place for every soul of man. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtext.com. Of how none born on earth can remain hidden, nor his work remain concealed. But he, God, bids us be meek, to endure attack and insult, and not to offend widows and orphans. Have put every man's work in writing, and none born on earth can remain hidden, nor his works remain concealed. To see all things. Now therefore, my children, in patience and meekness spend the number of your days, that you inherit endless life. Endure for the sake of the Lord every wound, every injury, every evil word and attack. If ill requitals befall you, return them not either to neighbor or enemy, because the Lord will return them for you and be your avenger on the day of great judgment, that there be no avenging here among men. Whoever of you spends gold or silver for his brother's sake, he will receive ample treasure in the world to come. Injure not widows, nor orphans, nor strangers, lest God's wrath come upon you. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92 Truths at sacredtext.com. Enoch instructs his sons that they hide not treasures in the earth, but bids them give alms to the poor. Stretch out your hands to the poor according to your strength. Hide not your silver in the earth. Help the faithful man in affliction, and affliction will not find you in the time of your trouble. And every grievous and cruel yoke that come upon you, bear all for the sake of the Lord, and thus you will find your reward in the day of judgment. It is good to go morning, midday, and evening into the Lord's dwelling for the glory of your Creator, because every breathing thing glorifies him, and every creature visible and invisible returns him praise. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 90sanctutext.com. Lil, God instructs his faithful, how they are to praise his name. Blessed is the man who opens his lips in praise of God of Sabaoth, and praises the Lord with his heart. Cursed every man who opens his lips for the bringing into contempt and calumny of his neighbor, because he brings God into contempt. Blessed is he who opens his lips blessing and praising God. Cursed is he before the Lord all the days of his life, who opens his lips to curse and abuse. Blessed is he who blesses all the Lord's works. Cursed is he who brings the Lord's creation into contempt. Blessed is he who looks down and raises the fallen. Cursed is he who looks to and is eager for the destruction of what is not his. Blessed is he who keeps the foundations of his fathers made firm from the beginning. Cursed is he who perverts the decrees of his forefathers. Blessed is he who implants peace and love. Cursed is he who disturbs those that love their neighbors. Blessed is he who speaks with humble tongue and heart to all. Cursed is he who speaks peace with his tongue, while in his heart there is no peace but a sword. For all these things will be laid bare in the weighing scales and in the books on the day of the great judgment. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 90sredtexts.com. And now, my children, do not say, Our Father is standing before God and is praying for our sins, for there is no helper of any man who has sinned. You see how wrote all works of every man before his creation, all that is done amongst all men for all time. And none can tell or relate my handwriting, because the Lord sees all the imaginings of man, how they are vain, where they lie in the treasure houses of the heart. And now, my children, mark well all the words of your father that tell you, lest you regret, saying, Why did our father not tell us? The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtext.com. Enoch instructs his sons that they should hand the books to others also. At that time, not understanding this, let these books which have given you be for an inheritance of your peace. Hand them to all who want them, and instruct them that they may see the Lord's very great and marvelous works. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtext.com. Enoch instructs his sons that they should hand the books to others also. 8 That time, not understanding this, let these books which have given you be for an inheritance of your peace. Hand them to all who want them, and instruct them that they may see the Lord's very great and marvelous works. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtext.com. Here Enoch shows his sons, telling them with tears, "My children, the hour has approached for me to go up unto heaven. Behold, the angels are standing before me. My children, behold, the day of my term and the time nave approached. For the angels who shall go with me are standing before me, and urge me to my departure from you. They are standing here on earth, awaiting what has been told them. For tomorrow shall go up unto heaven, to the uppermost Jerusalem, to my eternal inheritance. Therefore bid you do before the Lord's face all his good pleasure." The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtext.com. Methusalem asks of his father blessing, that he seeks Methusalem may make him seeks Enoch food to eat. Methusalem, having answered his father Enoch, said, "What is agreeable to thy eyes, Father, that may make before thy face, that thou mayst bless our dwellings, and thy sons, and that thy people may be made glorious through thee, and then that thou mayst depart thus, as the Lord said?" Enoch answered to his son Methusalem and said, "Hear, child, from the time when the Lord anointed me with the ointment of his glory, there has been no food in me, and my soul remembers not earthly enjoyment, neither do want anything earthly." The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtext.com. Enoch bade his son Methusalem to summon all his brethren. "My child Methusalem, summon all thy brethren and our household and the elders of the people, that may talk to them and depart, as is planned for me." And Methusalem made haste and summoned his brethren Regem, Rimmon, Ucan, Jermion, Gaidad, and all the elders of the people before the face of his father Enoch. And he blessed them and said to them, The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtexts.com. Enoch's instruction to his sons. "Listen to me, my children, today. In those days when the Lord came down onto earth for Adam's sake, and visited all his creatures which he created himself, after all these he created Adam, and the Lord called all the beasts of the earth, all the reptiles and all the birds that soar in the air, and brought them all before the face of our father Adam. And Adam gave the names to all things living on earth. And the Lord appointed him ruler over all, and subjected to him all things under his hands, and made them dumb, and made them dull, that they be commanded of man, and be in subjection and obedience to him. Thus also the Lord created every man lord over all his possessions. The Lord will not judge a single soul of beast for man's sake, but it judges the souls of men to their beasts in this world, for men have a special place. And as every soul of man is according to number, similarly beasts will not perish, nor all souls of beasts which the Lord created, till the great judgment, and they will accuse man if he feed them ill. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 90circuittexts.com. Enoch instructs his sons wherefore they may not touch beef, because of what comes from it. Whoever defiles the soul of beasts defiles his own soul. For man brings clean animals to make sacrifice for sin, that he may have cure of his soul. And if they bring for sacrifice clean animals and birds, man has cure, he cures his soul. All is given you for food, bind it by the 4 feet, that is to make good the cure, he cures his soul. But whoever kills beast without wounds kills his own soul and defiles his own flesh. And he who does any beast any injury whatsoever in secret, it is evil practice, and he defiles his own soul. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtexts.com. He who does injury to soul of man does injury to his own soul, and there is no cure for his flesh, nor pardon for all time. How it is not fitting to kill man neither by weapon nor by tongue. He who works the killing of a man's soul kills his own soul and kills his own body, and there is no cure for him for all time. He who puts a man in any snare shall stick in it himself, and there is no cure for him for all time. He who puts a man in any vessel, his retribution will not be wanting at the great judgment for all time. He who works crookedly or speaks evil against any soul will not make justice for himself for all time. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92secrettexts.com. Enoch instructs his sons to keep themselves from injustice and often to stretch forth hands to the poor, to give a share of their labors. And now, my children, keep your hearts from every injustice which the Lord hates. Just as a man asks something for his own soul from God, so let him do to every living soul, because know all things, how in the great time to come are many mansions prepared for men, good for the good and bad for the bad, without number many. Blessed are those who enter the good houses, for in the bad houses there is no peace, nor returns from them. Hear, my children, small and great, when man puts a good thought in his heart, brings gifts from his labors before the Lord's face, and his hands made them not, then the Lord will turn away his face from the labor of his hand, and man cannot find the labor of his hands. And if his hands made it, but his heart murmur, and his heart cease not making murmur incessantly, he has not any advantage. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 9200 at sacredtexts.com. LXIL, of how it is fitting to bring one's gift with faith, because there is no repentance after death. Blessed is the man who in his patience brings his gifts with faith before the Lord's face, because he will find forgiveness of sins. But if he take back his words before the time, there is no repentance for him. And if the time pass, and he do not of his own will what is promised, there is no repentance after death. Because every work which man does before the time is all deceit before men, and sin before God. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtexts.com. Of how not to despise the poor, but to share with them equally, lest thou be murmured against before God. When man clothes the naked and fills the hungry, he will find reward from God. But if his heart murmur, he commits a double evil, ruin of himself and of that which he gives. And for him there will be no finding of reward on account of that. And if his own heart is filled with his food and his own flesh, with his clothing he commits contempt, and forfeit all his endurance of poverty, and will not find reward of his good deeds. Every proud and magniloquent man is hateful to the Lord, and every false speech clothed in untruth, it will be cut with the blade of the sword of death, and thrown into the fire, and shall burn for all time. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92secrettexts.com. Of how the Lord calls up Enoch, and people took counsel to go and kiss him at the place called Akuzan. When Enoch had spoken these words to his sons, all people far and near heard how the Lord was calling Enoch. They took counsel together. Let us go and kiss Enoch. And 2,000 men came together and came to the place Akuzan where Enoch was and his sons. And the elders of the people, the whole assembly, came and bowed down and began to kiss Enoch and said to him, Our father Enoch, be thou blessed of the Lord, the eternal ruler, and now bless thy sons and all the people, that we may be glorified today before thy face. For thou shalt be glorified before the Lord's face for all time, since the Lord chose thee rather than all men on earth, and designated thee writer of all his creation, visible and invisible, and redeemer of the sins of man, and helper of thy household. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92secrettexts.com. Of Enoch's instruction of his sons, And Enoch answered all his people, saying, Hear, my children, before that all creatures were created, the Lord created the visible and invisible things. In as much time as there was and went past, understand that after that he created man in the likeness of his own form, and put into him eyes to see, and ears to hear, and heart to reflect, and intellect wherewith to deliberate. And the Lord saw all man's works, and created all his creatures, and divided time. From time he fixed the years, and from the years he appointed the months, and from the months he appointed the days, and of days he appointed 7. And in those he appointed the hours, measured them out exactly, that man might reflect on time, and count years, months, and hours, their alternation, beginning and end, and that he might count his own life from the beginning until death, and reflect on his sin, and write his work bad and good. Because no work is hidden before the Lord, that every man might know his works, and never transgress all his commandments, and keep my handwriting from generation to generation. When all creation, visible and invisible, as the Lord created it, shall end, then every man goes to the great judgment, and then all time shall perish, and the years, and thenceforward there will be neither months nor days nor hours. They will be stuck together and will not be counted. There will be one aeon, and all the righteous who shall escape the Lord's great judgment shall be collected in the great aeon. For the righteous the great aeon will begin, and they will live eternally. And then too there will be amongst them neither labor, nor sickness, nor humiliation, nor anxiety, nor need, nor violence, nor night, nor darkness, but great light. And they shall have a great indestructible wall, and a paradise bright and incorruptible, for all corruptible things shall pass away, and there will be eternal life. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., Nightuziehartmustruks.com. Enoch instructs his sons and all the elders of the people how they are to walk with terror and trembling before the Lord, and serve him alone, and not bow down to idols, but to God, who created heaven and earth, and every creature into his image. And now, my children, keep your souls from all injustice, such as the Lord hates. Walk before his face with terror and trembling, and serve him alone. Bow down to the true God, not to dumb idols, but bow down to his picture, and bring all just offerings before the Lord's face. The Lord hates what is unjust, for the Lord sees all things. When man takes thought in his heart, then he counsels the intellects, and every thought is always before the Lord, who made firm the earth, and put all creatures on it. If you look to heaven, the Lord is there. If you take thought of the seas deep and all the under earth, the Lord is there. For the Lord created all things. Bow not down to things made by man, leaving the Lord of all creation, because no work can remain hidden before the Lord's face. Walk, my children, in long-suffering, in meekness, honesty, in provocation, in grief, in faith, and in truth, in reliance on promises, in illness, in abuse, in wounds, in temptation, in nakedness, in privation, loving one another, till you go out from this age of ills, that you become inheritors of endless time. Blessed are the just who shall escape the great judgment, for they shall shine forth more than the sun sevenfold. For in this world the seventh part is taken off from all: light, darkness, food, enjoyment, sorrow, paradise, torture, fire, frost, and other things. He put all down in writing, that you might read and understand. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92secrettext.com. The Lord let out darkness onto earth and covered the people in Enoch, and he was taken up on high, and light came again in the heaven. When Enoch had talked to the people, the Lord sent out darkness onto the earth, and there was darkness, and it covered those men standing with Enoch, and they took Enoch up onto the highest heaven where the Lord is. And he received him and placed him before his face, and the darkness went off from the earth, and light came again. And the people saw and understood not how Enoch had been taken, and glorified God, and found a roll in which was traced the invisible God, and all went to their homes. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 19 at sacredtexts.com. Enos Ch was born on the 6th day of the month Sivan, and lived 365 years. He was taken up to heaven on the 1st day of the month Sivan, and remained in heaven 60 days. He wrote all these signs of all creation which the Lord created, and wrote 366 books, and handed them over to his sons, and remained on earth 30 days, and was again taken up to heaven on the 6th day of the month Sivan, on the very day and hour when he was born. As every man's nature in this life is dark, so are also his conception, birth, and departure from this life. At what hour he was conceived, at that hour he was born, and at that hour too he died. Methuselah and his brethren, all the sons of Enoch, made haste, and erected an altar at the place called Ahuzan, whence and where Enoch had been taken up to heaven. And they took sacrificial oxen, and summoned all people, and sacrificed the sacrifice before the Lord's face. All people, the elders of the people, and the whole assembly came to the feast, and brought gifts to the sons of Enoch. And they made a great feast, rejoicing and making merry 3 days, praising God, who had given them such a sign through Enoch, who had found favor with him, and that they should hand it on to their sons from generation to generation, from age to age. Amen. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1902-, at sacredtext.com. The Psalms of Solomon. This collection of 18 war songs are the gift of an ancient Semitic writer. The original manuscript has perished, but fortunately Greek translations have been preserved, and recently a Syriac version of the same songs has turned up and was published in English for the first time in 1909 by Dr. Rendell Harris, B.C. These psalms had an important position and were widely circulated in the early church. They are frequently referred to in the various codexes and histories of the first few centuries of the Christian era. Later they became lost through inexplicable reasons, and have only been recovered for our use after the lapse of many centuries. Besides the literary value of the trumpet-like of these verses, we have here a chapter of stirring ancient history written by an eyewitness. Pompey comes out of the west. He uses battering rams on the fortifications. His soldiers defile the altar. He is slain in Egypt after a fearful career. In the righteous of these psalms we see the Pharisees. In the sinners we see the Sadducees. It is an epic of a great people in the throes of a great crisis. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtext.com. They became insolent in their prosperity, cried unto the Lord when was in distress, unto God when sinners assailed. Suddenly the alarm of war was heard before me, said, He will hearken to me, for am full of righteousness. Thought in my heart that was full of righteousness, because was well off and had become rich in children. Their wealth spread to the whole earth, and their glory unto the end of the earth. They were exalted unto the stars. They said they would never fan. But they became insolent in their prosperity, and they were without understanding. Their sins were in secret, and even had no knowledge of them. Their transgressions went beyond those of the pagan before them. They utterly polluted the holy things of the Lord. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtext.com. The desecration of Jerusalem, captivity, murder, and raping. A psalm of utter despair. When the sinner waxed proud, with a battering ram he cast down fortified walls, and thou didst not restrain him. Alien nations ascended thine altar. They trampled it proudly with their sandals, because the sons of Jerusalem had defiled the holy things of the Lord, had profaned with iniquities the offerings of God. Therefore he said, Cast them far from me. It was set at naught before God. It was utterly dishonored. The sons and the daughters were in grievous captivity. Sealed was their neck. Branded was it among the nations. According to their sins hath he done unto them, for he hath left them in the hands of them that prevailed. He hath turned away his face from pitying them, young and old, and their children together. For they had done evil one and all in not hearkening. And the heavens were angry, and the earth abhorred them, for no man upon it had done what they did. and the earth recognized all thy righteous judgments, O God. They set the sons of Jerusalem to be mocked at in return for the harlots in her. Every wayfarer entered in the full light of day. They made mock with their transgressions, as they themselves were wont to do. In the full light of day they revealed their iniquities. And the daughters of Jerusalem were defiled in accordance with thy judgment, because they had defiled themselves with unnatural intercourse, and pained in my bowels and my inward parts for these things. And yet will justify thee, O God, in uprightness of heart. For in thy judgments is thy righteousness displayed, O God. For thou hast rendered to the sinners according to their deeds, yea, according to their sins, which were very wicked. Thou hast uncovered their sins, that thy judgment might be manifest. Thou hast wiped out their memorial from the earth. God is a righteous judge, and he is no respecter of persons. For the nations reproached Jerusalem, trampling it down. Her beauty was dragged down from the throne of glory. She girded on sackcloth instead of comely raiment. A rope was about her head instead of a crown. She put off the glorious diadem which God had set upon her. In dishonor was her beauty cast upon the ground, and saw and entreated the Lord, and said, Long enough, O Lord, has thine hand been heavy on Israel, in bringing the nations upon them. For they have made sport unsparingly in wrath and fierce anger, and they will make an utter end, unless thou, O Lord, rebuke them in thy wrath. For they have done it not in zeal, but in lust of soul, pouring out their wrath upon us with a view to rapine. Delay not, O God, to recompense them on their heads, to turn the pride of the dragon into dishonor. And had not long to wait before God showed me the insolent ones slain on the mountains of Egypt, esteemed of less account than the least, on land and sea, his body too borne hither and thither on the billows with much insolence, with none to bury him, because he had rejected him with dishonor. He reflected not that he was man, and reflected not on the latter end. He said, will be Lord of land and sea, and he recognized not that it is God who is great, mighty in his great strength. He is king over the heavens, and judgeth kings and kingdoms. It is he who setteth me up in glory, and bringeth down the proud to eternal destruction and dishonor, because they knew him not. And now behold, ye princes of the earth, the judgment of the Lord, for a great king and righteous is he, judging all that is under heaven. Bless God, ye that fear the Lord with wisdom, for the mercy of the Lord will 226 turn upon them that fear him, and the judgment, so that he will distinguish between the righteous and the sinner, and recompense the sinners forever according to their deeds, and have mercy on the righteous, delivering him from the affliction of the sinner, and recompensing the sinner for what he hath done to the righteous. For the Lord is good to them that call upon him in patience, doing according to his mercy to his pious ones, establishing them at all times before him in strength. Blessed be the Lord forever before his servants. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 19 Shrew, at sacredtext.com. Righteousness versus sin. Why sleepest thou, O my soul, and blessest not the Lord? Sing a new song unto God who is worthy to be praised. Sing and be wakeful against his awaking, for good is a psalm sung to God from a glad heart. The righteous remember the Lord at all times, with thanksgiving and declaration of the righteousness of the Lord's judgments. The righteous despiseth not the chastening of the Lord. His will is always before the Lord. The righteous stumbleth and holdeth the Lord righteous. He falleth and looketh out for what God will do to him. He seeketh out whence his deliverance will come. The steadfastness of the righteous is from God their deliverer. There lodgeth not in the house of the righteous sin upon sin. The righteous continually searcheth his house, to remove utterly all iniquity done by him in error. He maketh atonement for sins of ignorance by fasting and afflicting his soul, and the Lord counteth guiltless every pious man in his house. The sinner stumbleth and curseth his life the day when he was begotten, and his mother's travail. He addeth sins to sins while he liveth. He falleth, verily grievous is his fall. and riseth no more. The destruction of the sinner is forever, and he shall not be remembered when the righteous is visited. This is the portion of sinners forever. But they that fear the Lord shall rise to life eternal, and their life shall be in the light of the Lord, and shall come to an end no more. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 90threadtexts.com. A Conversation of Solomon with the Men-Pleasers. Wherefore sittest thou, O profane man, in the council of the pious, seeing that thy heart is far removed from the Lord, provoking with transgressions the God of Israel, extravagant in speech, extravagant in outward seeming beyond all men, is he that is severe of speech in condemning sinners in judgment, and his hand is first upon him as though he acted in zeal, and yet he is himself guilty in respect of manifold sins and of wantonness. His eyes are upon every woman without distinction, his tongue lieth when he maketh contract with an oath. By night and in secret he sinneth as though unseen. With his eyes he talketh to every woman of evil compacts. He is swift to enter every house with cheerfulness as though guileless. Let God remove those that live in hypocrisy in the company of the pious, even the life of such an one with corruption of his flesh and penury. Let God reveal the deeds of the men-pleasers, the deeds of such an one with laughter and derision, that the pious may count righteous the judgment of their God. When sinners are removed from before the righteous, even the man-pleaser who uttereth law guilefully, and their eyes are fixed upon any man's house that is still secure, that they may, like the serpent, destroy the wisdom of, with words of transgressors, his words are deceitful, that he may accomplish his wicked desire. He never ceaseth from scattering families as though they were orphans. Yea, he layeth waste a house on account of his lawless desire. He deceiveth with words, saying, There is none that seeth or judgeth. He fills one house with lawlessness, and then his eyes are fixed upon the next house, to destroy it with words that give wing to desire. Yet with all these his soul, like Sheol, is not sated. Let his portion, O Lord, be dishonored before thee. Let him go forth groaning, and come home cursed. Let his life be spent in anguish and penury and want, O Lord. Let his sleep be beset with pains, and his awaking with perplexities. Let sleep be withdrawn from his eyelids at night. Let him fail dishonorably in every work of his hands. Let him come home empty-handed to his house, and his house be void of everything wherewith he could sate his appetite. Let his old age be spent in childless loneliness until his removal by death. Let the flesh of the men-pleasers be rent by wild beasts, and let the bones of the lawless lie dishonored in the sight of the sun. Let ravens peck out the eyes of the hypocrites, for they have laid waste many houses of men in dishonor, and scattered them in their lust. And they have not remembered God, nor feared God in all these things. But they have provoked God's anger and vexed him. May he remove them from off the earth, because with deceit they beguiled the souls of the flawless. Blessed are they that fear the Lord in their flawlessness. The Lord shall deliver them from guileful men and sinners, and deliver us from every stumbling block of the lawless men. Let God destroy them that insolently work all unrighteousness. For a great and mighty judge is the Lord our God in righteousness. Let thy mercy, O Lord, be upon all them that love thee. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., secrettext.com. A statement of the philosophy of the indestructibility of matter, one of the tenets of modern physics. O Lord God, will praise thy name with joy in the midst of them that know thy righteous judgments. For thou art good and merciful, the refuge of the poor. When cry to thee, do not silently disregard me, for no man taketh spoil from a mighty man. Who then can take aught of that thou hast made, except thou thyself givest? For man and his portion lie before thee in the balance. He cannot add to so as to enlarge what has been prescribed by thee. O God, when we are in distress, we call upon thee for help, and thou dost not turn back our petition, for thou art our God. Cause not thy hand to be heavy upon us, lest through necessity we sin. Even though thou restore us not, we will not keep away, but unto thee will we come. For if hunger, unto thee will cry, O God, and thou wilt give to me. Birds and fish dost thou nourish, in that thou givest rain to the steppes, that green grass may spring up. So to prepare fodder in the steppe for every living thing. And if they hunger, unto thee do they lift up their face. Kings and rulers and peoples thou dost nourish, O God. And who is the help of the poor and needy, if not thou, O Lord? And thou wilt hearken, for who is good and gentle but thou, making glad the soul of the humble by opening thine hand in mercy? Man's goodness is bestowed grudgingly, and if he repeat it without murmuring, even that is marvellous. But thy gift is great in goodness and wealth, and he whose hope is set on thee shall have no lack of gifts. Upon the whole earth is thy mercy, O Lord, in goodness. Happy is he whom God remembereth in granting to him a due sufficiency. If a man abound over much, he sinneth. Sufficient are moderate means with righteousness, and hereby the blessing of the Lord becomes abundance with righteousness. They that fear the Lord rejoice in good gifts, and thy goodness is upon Israel in thy kingdom. Blessed is the glory of the Lord, for he is our King. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtexts.com. Happy is the man whose heart is fixed to call upon the name of the Lord. When he remembereth the name of the Lord, he will be saved. His ways are made even by the Lord, and the works of his hands are preserved by the Lord his God. At what he sees in his bad dreams, his soul shall not be troubled. When he passes through rivers and the tossing of the seas, he shall not be dismayed. He ariseth from his sleep, and blesseth the name of the Lord. When his heart is at peace, he singeth to the name of his God, and he entreateth the Lord for all his house. And the Lord heareth the prayer of every one that feareth God, and every request of the soul that hopes for him doth the Lord accomplish. Blessed is the Lord, who showeth mercy to those who love him in sincerity. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1966. The fine old doctrine, thou art our shield. Make not thy dwelling afar from us, O God, lest they assail us that hate us without cause. For thou hast rejected them, O God. Let not their foot trample upon thy holy inheritance. Chasten us thyself in thy good pleasure, but give us not up to the nations. For if thou sendest pestilence, thou thyself givest it charge concerning us. For thou art merciful, and wilt not be angry to the point of consuming us. While thy name dwelleth in our midst, we shall find mercy, and the nations shall not prevail against us. For thou art our shield, and when we call upon thee, thou hearkenest to us. For thou wilt pity the seed of Israel forever, and thou wilt not reject them. But we shall be under thy yoke forever, and under the rod of thy chastening. Thou wilt establish us in the time that thou helpest us, showing mercy to the house of Jacob on the day wherein thou didst promise to help them. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 19scricketexts.com. Some remarkable similes of war creeping on Jerusalem. A survey of the sins that brought all this trouble. Distress and the sound of war hath my ear heard. The sound of a trumpet announcing slaughter and calamity. The sound of much people as of an exceeding high wind, as a tempest with mighty fire sweeping through the Negeb. And said in my heart, surely God judgeth us. A sound here moving towards Jerusalem, the holy city. My loins were broken at what heard, my knees tottered. My heart was afraid, my bones were dismayed like flax. Said they establish their ways in righteousness. Thought upon the judgments of God since the creation of heaven and earth. Held God righteous in his judgments which have been from of old. God bare their sins in the full light of day. All the earth came to know the righteous judgments of God. In secret places underground their iniquities were committed to provoke him to anger. They wrought confusion, son with mother and father with daughter. They committed adultery, every man with his neighbor's wife. They concluded covenants with one another with an oath touching these things. They plundered the sanctuary of God as though there was no avenger. They trode the altar of the Lord, coming straight from all manner of uncleanness, and with menstrual blood they defiled the sacrifices as though these were common flesh. They left no sin undone wherein they surpassed not the pagan. Therefore God mingled for them a spirit of wandering, and gave them to drink a cup of undiluted wine, that they might become drunken. He brought him that is from the end of the earth, that smiteth mightily. He decreed war against Jerusalem and against her land. The princes of the land went to meet him with joy. They said unto him, Blessed be thy way, come ye, enter ye in with peace. They made the rough ways even before his entering in. They opened the gates to Jerusalem, they crowned its walls. As a father entereth the house of his sons, so he entered Jerusalem in peace. He established his feet there in great safety. He captured her fortresses and the wall of Jerusalem. For God himself led him in safety while they wandered. He destroyed their princes and every one wise in counsel. He poured out the blood of the inhabitants of Jerusalem like the water of uncleanness. He led away their sons and daughters, whom they had begotten in defilement. They did according to their uncleanness, even as their fathers had done. They defiled Jerusalem and the things that had been hallowed to the name of God. But God hath shown himself righteous in his judgments upon the nations of the earth, and the pious servants of God are like innocent lambs in their midst. Worthy to be praised is the Lord that judgeth the whole earth in his righteousness. Behold now, O God, thou hast shown us thy judgment in thy righteousness. Our eyes have seen thy judgments, O God. We have justified thy name that is honored forever, for thou art the God of righteousness, judging Israel with chastening. Turn, O God, thy mercy upon us, and have pity upon us. Gather together the dispersed of Israel, with mercy and goodness. For thy faithfulness is with us, and though we have stiffened our neck, yet thou art our chastener. Overlook us not, O our God, lest the nations swallow us up, as though there were none to deliver. But thou art our God from the beginning, and upon thee is our hope set, O Lord, and we will not depart from thee, for good are thy judgments upon us. Ours and our children's be thy good pleasure forever. O Lord, our Savior, we shall never more be moved. The Lord is worthy to be praised for his judgments with the mouth of his pious ones. And blessed be Israel of the Lord forever. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. 90 Texts.com. The Exile of the Tribes of Israel, a reference to the covenant which God made with Adam. See the first book of Adam and Eve, Chap, verse 7. When Israel was led away captive into a strange land, when they fell away from the Lord who redeemed them, they were cast away from the inheritance which the Lord had given them. Among every nation were the dispersed of Israel, according to the word of God, that thou mightest be justified, O God, in thy righteousness by reason of our transgressions. For thou art a just judge over all the peoples of the earth. For from thy knowledge none that doeth unjustly is hidden, and the righteous deeds of thy pious ones are before thee, O Lord. Where then can a man hide himself from thy knowledge, O God? Our works are subject to our own choice and power to do right or wrong in the works of our hands. And in thy righteousness thou visitest the sons of men. He that doeth righteousness layeth up life for himself with the Lord, and he that doeth wrongly forfeits his life to destruction. For the judgments of the Lord are given in righteousness to every man in his house. Unto whom art thou good, O God, except to them that call upon the Lord? He cleanseth from sins a soul when it maketh confession, when it maketh acknowledgement. For shame is upon us and you on our faces on account of all these things. And to whom doth he forgive sins, except to them that have sinned? Thou blessest the righteous, and dost not reprove them for the sins that they have committed. And thy goodness is upon them that sin when they repent. And now thou art our God, and we the people whom thou hast loved. Behold and show pity, O God of Israel, for we are thine. And remove not thy mercy from us, lest they assail us. For thou didst choose the seed of Abraham before all the nations. and didst set thy name upon us, O Lord, and thou wilt not reject us forever. Thou madest a covenant with our fathers concerning us, and we hope in thee when our soul turneth unto thee. The mercy of the Lord be upon the house of Israel forever and ever. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1902-3 Sorcery, at sacredtexts.com. A glorious hymn. Further reference to the eternal covenant between God and man. Happy is the man whom the Lord remembereth with reproving, and whom he restraineth from the way of evil with strokes, that he may be cleansed from sin, that it may not be multiplied. He that maketh ready his back for strokes shall be cleansed. For the Lord is good to them that endure chastening, for he maketh straight the ways of the righteous, and doth not pervert them by his chastening. And the mercy of the Lord is upon them that love him in truth, and the Lord remembereth his servants in mercy. For the testimony is in the law of the eternal covenant. The testimony of the Lord is on the ways of men in his visitation. Just and kind is our Lord in his judgments forever. And Israel shall praise the name of the Lord in gladness. And the pious shall give thanks in the assembly of the people. And on the poor shall God have mercy in the gladness of Israel. For good and merciful is God forever. And the assemblies of Israel shall glorify the name of the Lord. The salvation of the Lord be upon the house of Israel unto everlasting gladness. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtexts.com. Jerusalem hears a trumpet and stands on tiptoe to see her children returning from the north, east, and west. Blow ye in Zion on the trumpet to summon the saints. Cause ye to be heard in Jerusalem the voice of him that bringeth good tidings. For God hath had pity on Israel in visiting them. Stand on the height, O Jerusalem, and behold thy children from the east and the west, gathered together by the Lord. From the north they come in the gladness of their God. From the isles afar off God hath gathered them. High mountains hath he abased into a plain for them. The hills fled at their entrance. The woods gave them shelter as they passed by. Every sweet-smelling tree God caused to spring up for them, that Israel might pass by in the visitation of the glory of their God. Put on, O Jerusalem, thy glorious garments. Make ready thy holy robe, for God hath spoken good concerning Israel forever and ever. Let the Lord do what he hath spoken concerning Israel and Jerusalem. Let the Lord raise up Israel by his glorious name. The mercy of the Lord be upon Israel forever and ever. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtexts.com. An appeal for family tranquility and peace and quiet at home. O Lord, deliver my soul from the lawless and wicked man, from the tongue that is lawless and slanderous, and speaketh lies and deceit. Manifoldly twisted are the words of the tongue of the wicked man, even as among a people a fire that burneth up their beauty. So he delights to fill houses with a lying tongue, to cut down the trees of gladness which setteth on fire transgressors, to involve households in warfare by means of slanderous lips. May God remove far from the innocent the lips of transgressors by bringing them to want, and may the bones of slanderers be scattered far away from them that fear the Lord. In flaming fire perish the slanderous tongue far away from the pious. May the Lord preserve the quiet soul that hateth the unrighteous, and may the Lord establish the man that followeth peace at home. The salvation of the Lord be upon Israel his servant forever, and let the sinners perish together at the presence of the Lord. But let the Lord's pious ones inherit the promises of the Lord. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtexts.com. The right hand of the Lord hath covered me. The right hand of the Lord hath spared us. The arm of the Lord hath saved us from the sword that passed through, from famine and the death of sinners. Noisome beasts ran upon them. With their teeth they tore their flesh, and with their molars crushed their bones. But from all these things the Lord delivered us. The righteous was troubled on account of his errors. lest he should be taken away along with the sinners. For terrible is the overthrow of the sinner, but not one of all these things toucheth the righteous. For not alike are the chastening of the righteous for sins done in ignorance, and the overthrow of the sinners. Secretly is the righteous chastened, lest the sinner rejoice over the righteous. For he correcteth the righteous as a beloved son, and his chastisement is as that of a firstborn. For the Lord spareth his pious ones, and blotteth out their errors by his chastening. For the life of the righteous shall be forever, but sinners shall be taken away into destruction, and their memorial shall be found no more. But upon the pious is the mercy of the Lord, and upon them that fear him his mercy. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtexts.com. Sinners love the brief day spent in companionship with their sin. Profound wisdom beautifully expressed. Faithful is the Lord to them that love him in truth, to them that endure his chastening, to them that walk in the righteousness of his commandments, in the law which he commanded us that we might live. The pious of the Lord shall live by it forever. The paradise of the Lord, the trees of life, are his pious ones. Their planting is rooted forever. They shall not be plucked up all the days of heaven. For the portion and the inheritance of God is Israel. But not so are the sinners and transgressors, who love the brief day spent in companionship with their sin. Their delight is in fleeting corruption, and they remember not God. For the ways of men are known before him at all times, and he knoweth the secrets of the heart before they come to pass. Therefore their inheritance is Sheol, and darkness, and destruction. And they shall not be found in the day when the righteous obtain mercy, but the pious of the Lord shall inherit life and gladness. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. 92secrettexts.com. The psalmist restates the great philosophy of right and wrong. When was in distress, called upon the name of the Lord, hoped for the help of the God of Jacob, and was saved. For the hope and refuge of the poor art thou, O God. For who, O God, is strong except to give thanks unto thee in truth? And wherein is a man powerful except in giving thanks to thy name? A new psalm with song and gladness of heart, the fruit of the lips with the well-tuned instrument of the tongue, the first fruits of the lips from a pious and righteous heart. He that offereth these things shall never be shaken by evil. The flame of fire and the wrath against the unrighteous shall not touch him, when it goeth forth from the face of the Lord against sinners, to destroy all the substance of sinners. For the mark of God is upon the righteous, that they may be saved. Famine and sword and pestilence shall be far from the righteous, for they shall flee away from the pious as men pursued in war. But they shall pursue sinners and overtake them, and they that do lawlessness shall not escape the judgment of God. As by enemies experienced in war shall they be overtaken. For the mark of destruction is upon their forehead, and the inheritance of sinners is destruction and darkness. And their iniquities shall pursue them unto Sheol beneath. Their inheritance shall not be found of their children, for sin shall lay waste the houses of sinners, and sinners shall perish forever in the day of the Lord's judgment, when God visiteth the earth with his judgment. But they that fear the Lord shall find mercy therein, and shall live by the compassion of their God. But sinners shall perish forever. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr. at sacredtexts.com. The psalmist again expresses profound truth. For if thou givest not strength, who can endure chastisement? When my soul slumbered, being afar from the Lord, had all but slipped down to the pit. When was far from God, my soul had been well nigh poured out unto death, had been nigh unto the gates of Sheol with the sinner. When my soul departed from the Lord God of Israel, had not the Lord helped me with his everlasting mercy? He pricked me as a horse is pricked, that might serve him. My Savior and Helper at all times saved me. will give thanks unto thee, O God, for thou hast helped me to my salvation, and hast not counted me with sinners to my destruction. Remove not thy mercy from me, O God, nor thy memorial from my heart until die. Rule me, O God, keeping me back from wicked sin, and from every wicked woman that causeth the simple to stumble. And let not the beauty of a lawless woman beguile me, nor any one that is subject to unprofitable sin. Establish the works of my hands before thee, and preserve my goings in the remembrance of thee. Protect my tongue and my lips with words of truth. Anger and unreasoning wrath put far from me. Murmuring and impatience and affliction remove far from me. When, if sin, thou chastenest me, that may return unto thee. But with good will and cheerfulness support my soul. When thou strengthenest my soul, what is given to me will be sufficient for me. For if thou givest not strength, who can endure chastisement with poverty? When a man is rebuked by means of his corruption, thy testing of him is in his flesh and in the affliction of poverty. If the righteous endureth in all these trials, he shall receive mercy from the Lord. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 19th section, TrueText.com. They set a worldly monarchy. They lay waste the throne of David, a poetic narrative about the utter disintegration of a great nation. O Lord, thou art our King forever and ever. For in thee, O God, doth our soul glory. How long are the days of man's life upon the earth? As are his days, so is the hope set upon him. But we hope in God our deliverer. For the might of our God is forever with mercy, and the kingdom of our God is forever over the nations in judgment. Thou, O Lord, didst choose David to be king over Israel, and swearest to him touching his seed that never should his kingdom fail before thee. But for our sins, sinners rose up against us. They assailed us and thrust us out. What thou hadst not promised to them, they took away from us with violence. They in no wise glorified thy honorable name. They set a worldly monarchy in place of that which was their excellency. They laid waste the throne of David in tumultuous arrogance. But thou, O God, didst cast them down and remove their seed from the earth, in that there rose up against them a man that was alien to our race. According to their sins didst thou recompense them, O God, so that it befell them according to their deeds. God showed them no pity. He sought out their seed, and let not one of them go free. Faithful is the Lord in all his judgments which he doeth upon the earth. The lawless one laid waste our land, so that none inhabited it. They destroyed young and old and their children together. In the heat of his anger he sent them away even unto the west, and he exposed the rulers of the land unsparingly to derision. Being an alien, the enemy acted proudly, and his heart was alien from our God. And all things whatsoever he did in Jerusalem, as also the nations in the cities to their gods. And the children of the covenant in the midst of the mingled peoples surpassed them in evil. There was not among them one that wrought in the midst of Jerusalem mercy and truth. They that loved the synagogues of the pious fled from them, as sparrows that fly from their nest. They wandered in deserts that their lives might be saved from harm. And precious in the eyes of them that lived abroad was any that escaped alive from them. Over the whole earth were they scattered by lawless men. For the heavens withheld the rain from dropping upon the earth. Springs were stopped that sprang perennially out of the deeps, that ran down from lofty mountains. For there was none among them that wrought righteousness and justice. From the chief of them to the least of them all were sinful. The king was a transgressor, and the judge disobedient, and the people sinful. Behold, O Lord, and raise up unto them their king, the son of David, at the time in the which thou seest, O God, that he may reign over Israel thy servant, and gird him with strength, that he may shatter unrighteous rulers, and that he may purge Jerusalem from nations that trample her down to destruction. Wisely, righteously he shall thrust out sinners from the inheritance. He shall destroy the pride of the sinner as a potter's vessel. With a rod of iron he shall break in pieces all their substance. He shall destroy the godless nations with the word of his mouth. At his rebuke nations shall flee before him, and he shall reprove sinners for the thoughts of their heart. And he shall gather together a holy people, whom he shall lead in righteousness. And he shall judge the tribes of the people that has been sanctified by the Lord his God. And he shall not suffer unrighteousness to lodge any more in their midst, nor shall there dwell with them any man that knoweth wickedness, for he shall know them, that they are all sons of their God. And he shall divide them according to their tribes upon the land, and neither sojourner nor alien shall sojourn with them any more. He shall judge peoples and nations in the wisdom of his righteousness. Selah. And he shall have the pagan nations to serve him under his yoke. And he shall glorify the Lord in a place to be seen of all the earth. And he shall purge Jerusalem, making it holy as of old, so that nations shall come from the ends of the earth to see his glory, bringing as gifts her sons who had fainted, and to see the glory of the Lord, wherewith God hath glorified her. And he shall be a righteous king, taught of God, over them. And there shall be no unrighteousness in his days in their midst. For all shall be holy, and their king the anointed of the Lord. For he shall not put his trust in horse and rider and bow, nor shall he multiply for himself gold and silver for war. Nor shall he gather confidence from a multitude for the day of battle. The Lord himself is his king, the hope of him that is mighty through his hope in God. All nations shall be in fear before him, for he will smite the earth with the word of his mouth forever. He will bless the people of the Lord with wisdom and gladness, and he himself will be pure from sin, so that he may rule a great people. He will rebuke rulers and remove sinners by the might of his word, and relying upon his God throughout his days he will not stumble. For God will make him mighty by means of his Holy Spirit, and wise by means of the Spirit of understanding, with strength and righteousness. And the blessing of the Lord will be with him. He will be strong and stumble not. His hope will be in the Lord. Who then can prevail against him? He will be mighty in his works, and strong in the fear of God. He will be shepherding the flock of the Lord faithfully and righteously, and will suffer none among them to stumble in their pasture. He will lead them all aright, and there will be no pride among them, that any among them should be oppressed. This will be the majesty of the King of Israel, whom God knoweth. He will raise him up over the house of Israel to correct him. His words shall be more refined than costly gold, the choicest. In the assemblies he will judge the peoples, the tribes of the sanctified. His words shall be like the words of the holy ones in the midst of sanctified peoples. Blessed be they that shall be in those days, in that they shall see the good fortune of Israel, which God shall bring to pass in the gathering together of the tribes. May the Lord hasten his mercy upon Israel. May he deliver us from the uncleanness of unholy enemies. The Lord himself is our King forever and ever. The Forgotten Books of Eden by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92secrettext.com. With this psalm end the warlike songs of Solomon. Lord, thy mercy is over the works of thy hands forever. Thy goodness is over Israel with a rich gift. Thine eyes look upon them, so that none of them suffers want. Thine ears listen to the hopeful prayer of the poor. Thy judgments are executed upon the whole earth in mercy, and thy love is toward the seed of Abraham, the children of Israel. Thy chastisement is upon us as upon a firstborn, only begotten son, to turn back the obedient soul from folly that is wrought in ignorance. May God cleanse Israel against the day of mercy and blessing, against the day of choice, when blessed shall they be that shall be in those days. He bringeth back his anointed. In that they shall see the goodness of the Lord, which he shall perform for the generation that is to come, under the rod of chastening of the Lord's anointed, in the fear of his God, in the spirit of wisdom and righteousness and strength, that he may direct every man in the works of righteousness by the fear of God, that he may establish them all before the Lord, a good generation living in the fear of God in the days of mercy. Selah. Great is our God and glorious, dwelling in the highest. It is he who hath established in their courses the lights of heaven for determining seasons from year to year, and they have not turned aside from the way which he appointed them. In the fear of God they pursue their path every day, from the day God created them, and forevermore, and they have erred not since the day he created them. Since the generations of old they have not withdrawn from their path, unless God commanded them so to do by the command of his servants. The Forgotten Books of Eden, by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92256. The Forgotten Books of Eden, by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 92256. The Odes of Solomon. Here are some of the most beautiful songs of peace and joy that the world possesses. Yet their origin, the date of their writing, and the exact meaning of many of the verses remain one of the great literary mysteries. They have come down to us in a single and very ancient document in Syriac language. Evidently, that document is a translation from the original Greek. Critical debate has raged around these odes. One of the most plausible explanations is that they are songs of newly baptized Christians of the first century. They are strangely lacking in historical allusions. Their radiance is no reflection of other days. They do not borrow from either the Old Testament or the Gospels. The inspiration of these verses is firsthand. They remind you of Aristides' remark, "A new people with whom something divine is mingled." Here is vigor and insight to which we can find parallels only in the most exalted parts of the Scriptures. For these dazzling mystery odes, we owe our translation to J. Rendell Harris, M.A., Hun Fellow of Clare College, Cambridge. He says about them, "There does not seem to be anything about which everyone seem agreed, unless it be that the odes are of singular beauty and high spiritual value." The Forgotten Books of Eden, by Rutherford H. Platt, Jr., 1923, at sacredtext.com.